Don't waste your time on me. You're ready, the voice inside my head. Miss you.
Hello there.
The angel from my nightmare.
The shadow in the background of the moor.
The unsuspecting victim
Of darkness in the valley.
We could live like Jack and Sally if you want.
Where you can always find me. And we'll have Halloween on Christmas.
And in the night we'll say this.
We'll wish this never ends.
Wish
this never ends. That's some Blink 2022 for you.
Blink 2022. So welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast. My name is Guy Pigden.
And my name is Harley Neville.
I just wanted to start with that one because I always thought it was quite funny how he said yed instead of head.
Yeah.
You know?
My yed. Yeah, but that's Tom. Tom's singing. Tom has always been the worst singer in Blink 182. But it was good when they were doing the punk thing, when they were kind of punk rock, and it was like Mark could kind of sing and Tom had the more of a whiny tone, but it kind of really worked in the punk rock setting, especially with two singers. But then when he went away in Angels and Airwaves, I was like, I don't know if I can listen to a whole album of this shit.
I liked it. I liked it.
I'm lonely. And I'm so lonely.
So I just thought I'd start.
But I am glad that they've got music coming out.
Well, I just thought I'd start. Have you heard their new song?
Edging.
I
Yeah.
feel like there's a sort of a circle here. So these are 45-year-old guys.
Yeah.
Maybe they're 50-year-old guys now.
Maybe.
Right. Talking about edging.
Yeah.
And here we are dedicating a whole podcast to edging, and it's almost like, we're old and out of touch is what I'm saying.
Well, I feel
just like Blink-182.
Blink-182 are hot shit at the moment. I feel like the listeners don't even know about our edging stories because that was 5 years ago when Orange is the New Black was hot and Jason Biggs was talking about edging in Orange is the New Black. And then so I started edging before auditions and found I had a remarkable success rate whenever I was edging. Edging, for those that don't know and don't have urban, what's it called?
Don't listen to Blink-182. But in Blink-182, he never actually explains edging.
No.
It's just called edging.
Yeah.
Because edging is the youth. Edging is youthful. That's what the youth do these days.
They're all
edge.
edging. Yeah.
They edge and retain their semen as well.
Yeah. Straight edging. Yeah. Well, I found that really worked for me. It was quite good, actually. I haven't been doing it lately, to be honest.
It worked really well, apart from the offensive raging boner that you had in the auditions.
Well, it was a little unprofessional. It was a little unprofessional. I did not get called back to that particular casting agent. Yeah.
I'm edging. It's not my fault.
Speaking of auditions, I've got an audition. In fact, I had an audition just the other day. I've had two auditions. So last time we spoke, I had auditioned for our Flag Means Death Season 2 as a Spanish pirate captain. And I had to put on a Spanish accent, which was ridiculous because, you don't do accents. I don't really do that many accents.
You turned down a role in Jane Campion's film based off the fact that you don't do accents.
So I almost said no to that one as well, but I was like, look, I don't want to power of the dog this. I better go to this audition, even though it's ridiculous. Yeah. They're obviously going to cast a native Spanish speaker. They're obviously going to cast somebody probably who doesn't look like a short, bald, hairy Kiwi to play the part of an intimidating Spanish pirate captain.
Yeah.
Well, I did that audition, and the logic was, okay, I'm extremely unlikely to get it, but at least I'm going to get in front of them, they're going to see my face. They might think of me for something else that comes up.
Yep.
Well, lo and behold, they have gotten back in touch with me, and I've now done a different audition for a different role as a little more closely aligned to what I can pull off, which is a British officer.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
Well, I did two of them. I did one which was like a, oi, you can't do that here, or something like that, and one which was like more officery.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll let you all know how that goes. Yeah. And then the other audition is a top secret Jason Momoa related project. Totally top secret, big budget.
Nothing to do with water.
Nothing to do. It's actually not that one.
No, it can't be because they've already shot that.
Right,
I think they've already shot that.
No, it's not. It's not that one.
Yeah, okay.
But it's a big old series, and I've got an audition coming up, so I haven't done this yet. And get this, it's for the part of a Spanish Navy person.
In what? In what? Sorry.
In this other movie.
Oh, the Top Secret.
Yeah, the Top Secret movie.
Yeah.
So
was
again,
it the same? Is it the same casting agent?
No. I'm unsure because the previous one was self-tapes. The one I've got coming up is an audition in the room. My first one in the room for quite a long time, actually. And so I've got to go along.
This is the first one in the room since the Raging Bone incident. Since then, they asked you to do them more remotely.
Yeah. Since my edging incident. No, since the beginning of COVID. No, and so I've got this big audition, but it's mostly in Spanish, and the bits that aren't in Spanish are in English with a Spanish accent. So
I feel like you got this.
Well, I've been practicing. I'm going to go do it because I was tempted to say no. I was tempted to power of the dog it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, look, this is ridiculous. I'm going to spend all this time and energy and stress learning how to do this. Then I'm going to go in the room. I'm probably going to make a fool of myself in front of these casting agents. And I was never had a chance of getting the role anyway because they're going to cast a native Spanish speaker to play a native Spanish speaker role. It just makes sense. You're never going to cast this Kiwi from Dunedin in that particular role. So again, I'm just showing up.
Hollywood would say otherwise, my friend.
Well, it's true.
Hollywood would say otherwise, as I was reminded the other day that Marlon Brando played a Japanese man once. So
yeah,
I wouldn't count that out.
Well,
I feel like essentially because that is based on the assumption that there's a lot of those out there.
Yeah, well,
and there might be none.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, it's not that, yeah, of course, they would love to do that in an ideal world. Unfortunately, there is no one who speaks fluent Spanish and is Spanish and is in Auckland and is an actor and, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Well,
so I think you got a good chance on that.
Look, here's what I think. I think I've got a snowball's chance in hell of getting that particular role. But if I show up in the room, I do a good job, and they might like me for something else because there'll be other bits and pieces coming up. And also, it's a good chance for me to show off my Spanish-speaking prowess to the casting agent who's never seen me speak Spanish. So why would they know? So it's a good chance. The ideal role for me, right, in Spanish, is of the part of a Spanish, of a gringo, a tourist gringo, or somebody who's learning Spanish, or an American FBI agent who's gone down to Mexico and he's got a strong gringo accent in Spanish.
Yeah,
that would be fine. That'd be great. Or I'm a tourist that gets murdered or something like that. But actual native speaker, I don't really like my chances. But we'll let you know how that goes.
See how it all goes.
You can see here my new painting.
Yep. So as we know, Harley has made a promise to the viewers of this podcast that every single time we do a podcast, he is going to create a new painting.
That's why it's been so long between shows. These things take fucking months.
That's why we had to delay this. We were going to do it several times. He goes, the painting is not finished.
Yeah.
So he's finally finished the painting. He's put the final touches on. Now, what's this one called, Harley?
This one is called Stalker.
Oh, I like it. What was your inspiration for this? Is that a swan?
Well, it's a stork, isn't it?
I guess
S-T-O-R.
Well, you tell me. You painted it.
S-T-O-R-K. Stork. It's a stalker.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why.
Black stork.
Yeah, black stalker.
Yeah. So brilliant piece of work. Harley is he's sort of. I don't know if he's really taking requests exactly, but he will definitely have another one for the next show, another painting for the next show. So I look forward to seeing this is quite different to your last one, which was Rome inspired, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was the Romans 2020. Shout out to Tyler Adams on the live stream. He was going to watch the Weird Al Yankovic movie, but changed his mind because he's got a party to attend.
That's right.
The Pigville party.
The Pigville party.
Saturday night podcast.
Pigville party. It's Friday for him.
Right, yeah.
But it's Friday afternoon for him or Friday morning?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, no. It's like it's 3 hours later. It's like Saturday night at midnight.
Okay.
Ish, I think.
Yeah.
So Tyler's Vids wants to know when I Survived a Zombie Holocaust is going to be released on Blu-ray. It's a good time for that question. Not because there's any news on it going on Blu-ray, but because we did a screening of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust the other day. Since we last did the show, went pretty well, I thought. What was it like for you seeing it up on the big screen, not on the medium screen,
on the medium projector screen?
After, because the last time we would have watched it together was probably in a cinema somewhere in 2015.
It was probably at the St. Luke's screening of it.
I think so. Where we met Will Fleming.
Yeah,
shout out Will Fleming.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching it with the fans. Excuse me. I enjoyed it. The thing that pisses me off now was just what I said in the screening, which is just like, what I don't like about it is like, I feel like it would hold up better. And I don't think it doesn't hold up. I do think it holds up, but visually it would hold up better had we shot it with a different camera.
Right. You really hung up on that camera
I'm really hung up on it because it's not a matter of, well, it's a matter of the technology. It's like we tried to do an indie low budget film just before the kind of the camera quality exploded.
Yeah, the DSLR revolution.
And yeah, just before that, and all these cameras just, like literally the camera that we are currently filming on right now is considerably better than the camera we filmed I Survived a Zombie Holocaust on. And, you know, it was one of those things too that, like, you know, we came from an indie background. We came from the indiest of backgrounds on a DVX 102A. So to us, anything above that at the time was like, we were like, whoa, I can't believe how good some of this stuff looks.
Yeah.
Because that's where we came from. That's what we were used to. So it was a huge step up visually from that. But, you know, in context of the stuff maybe we were going up against is kind of what I think about. We could have just, it would have just been nice to have shot it on something, or just had we, you know, had like that technology just advanced a little bit more, we would have had access to something like really, really cool. And so that's the only thing that kind of bothers me, because I watch stuff that I think is nicely composed and, you know, scenes that look really, really, ultimately, like, we've got cool locations, we got this, we got that, and it all looks really good. However, the camera itself, you know, is blowing out the smoke in the background, or your forehead is pinging.
Yeah.
Because there's too much, you know, because it can't, essentially it's overloading the camera. The camera's limited color science and stuff can't handle the dynamic range differences, and also it would have made our life easier too, because we would have been able to shoot quicker, because a lot of the time we had to stop rolling because we'd put the smoke in
and blow everything out,
and then the light would hit the smoke and it overexposed the image, and then we had to wait to that to dissipate,
yep.
You know, until we could roll. And then it was sometimes like, no, too much smoke. Oh, not enough smoke. Oh, okay, cut.
Yep.
So that was my sort of my
Jenny up.
Kill the Jenny.
Kill the Jenny.
Smoke
Jenny up.
Yeah. So also, I mean, might have been nicer to use a better smoke machine than that, like a $5 one from the warehouse that someone just ran around like a lunatic with.
Nick Larson.
Yeah, running around like a maniac with like a $50 smoke machine.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, again, we have a better smoke machine sitting in our studio right now.
Yeah.
But whatever. But it was awesome to watch it. What about you? How did you feel watching your watching I Survived?
Well, you know, I mean, I liked it. People laughed. Everyone seemed happy. You know, it was all good. I still look at the performance and I'm happy with it. I'm like, cool, it's good. Everything's fine. But I do also, it's that thing where, like, that was shot in 2011. And it's like, how much did I learn about acting between 2011 and 2015 when it came out? And then again, since 2015 to 2022, I just feel like all the experience I have and all that, I'm like, you know, probably able to play that a little different now, you know, maybe a little less big, you know, maybe do something a little more subtle with that, or, you know, like just slightly different things. And then, of course, like some of the jokes as well, I feel like some of the jokes don't hit. And some of them are like, they're no longer woke enough. Some of the jokes are no longer woke enough. You know, like today we probably wouldn't do some of those same jokes.
Yeah, I wasn't really worried by that.
No? I mean, I didn't say I was worried.
Oh, well, I mean, as in, I didn't really think that any of the jokes were like, oh, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I thought that, to me, sometimes I felt the jokes didn't hit because you actually couldn't hear them.
Right.
I felt like some of the mix where we sort of tried to keep some of the dialogue in, just don't worry about that moth flying past, we like kept the original dialogue when we should have ADR'd it just to make it a little bit clearer. Like, for instance, there's that bit where Richard and you are being walked to Greg's, hidden bunker thing, science bunker. And he goes, now, I know that you've heard that he's been doing real experiments on corpses that he's managed to dig up. Now, don't worry, that's completely false. We would never let him do experiments on them. But to me, I know that joke's there, but I feel like everyone misses that because that's so mumbled, that last line, that it's just not clear. And it's like, oh, we should have just ADR'd that whole line of his. And maybe we did, and we just didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
Stuff like that, just a few things where it's just like, and obviously I'm sure there's stuff also that didn't hit because it wasn't funny.
Well, there's an element of that. But whenever I sort of think of things like that, or if I criticize the performance or anything about it really, I also just think, well, shit, this was done like really quickly with no money and like...
And very few experienced people.
Exactly. So,
you can't fucking hate. You cannot fucking hate. You cannot be a hater on I Survived the Zombie Holocaust. And I don't want to be... I'm super proud of it. And like I said, is like, I left that film knowing that I had done the absolutely best that I could have at that time with the limitations I had. Now, obviously, you take away some of those limitations or you add more experience, like you said, yeah, of course, maybe we could do it better. But at that time, with what we had, we did the best we could. And like, I can sleep easy at night knowing we like just went for it 110% and didn't, try and, and so and I'm super proud of that. So Tyler says remaster, George Lucas the thing. Look, Harley and I have actually talked about like, and I did kind of I floated this idea to Vidal and I was like, hey, you got the original sound, And he was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, because, we would love to do like a sort of a re-release sort of a thing. And he was like, oh yeah, cool. And I was like, and like add stuff to it. And he was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like add like extra scenes and stuff. And he was like, huh, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That was his response. I was like, I guess you're not so on board as that.
Yeah.
But it would be cool to...
It's weird. He doesn't want to work for long hours for virtually no money on an old project.
Yeah, that's strange. You don't want to mix a whole bunch of scenes for free.
It's weird.
on a decade-old film.
Yeah.
A decade-old, not super successful, low-budget film that you did.
Yeah.
That's weird. Why you would want to do that? We also... I'd like to do... I don't know how much would change in the director's cut. I would love to add back, and I know we've mentioned this a few times on the podcast, but there are, like... I just think about the scenes, like, I don't know if you remember, but before you go into the hotel, or after, you see those zombies on the street, and you're like, hey, you're going to be late. We better get going.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, no, I can't wait around forever. See
That's
ya.
right, yeah.
There was that. This was in the... what is that place that I was going to call it?
Oamaru.
I was going to call it Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oamaru, which is in this kind of famous old street, which they've repurposed a billion times for different films whenever they film. And we had access to it for that day too. And we literally used it for one shot in the final thing. And it's like, yeah, we probably could have made more of that.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then there's another bit where, there's kind of like, there's kind of interesting things that we tried. I don't know if we could get them to work or not, but like, the bit where you also bump into some zombies in the forest, and you're like, guys, have you seen Jessica?
Yeah.
And,
I do remember that scene.
And she's like, and they're like, and you're like, oh, very funny. This is serious.
Yeah.
And then you run past them.
Yeah.
And I thought that was I know we worked very hard to try and get that into the edit and then decided to cut it. But like all these things are like kind of 30-second things. And I'm like, why couldn't we do that? So maybe with a little bit of experience and finessing, we could add some of those things back. So it would be nice to just do like a couple of things like that. I don't know how much of it you would make the director's cut. It would be interesting to do the Blade Runner thing where you actually end up cutting more out of it. You add some stuff back in, but then you cut out so much that it's actually shorter than so I don't know. I think it would be a cool thing to do. And Tyler says we should do like a big behind the scenes feature sort of thing, which I always imagined we would call Surviving a Holocaust.
Right. Okay.
The making of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust.
Yeah. No, I don't see how.
No problem with that.
Yeah.
That's woke enough, right? There should be no issues with
Holocaust means death and destruction on a mass scale.
That's all it was.
Like nuclear holocaust.
Yeah.
This is a zombie holocaust.
Killing a bunch of zombies.
There's more than one type of holocaust.
We see. This is one of those problems. Oh, trying to get rid of that moth.
You leave that moth. You leave my mate the moth alone.
I just bumped the mic. So the issue is you and I shot a bunch of interviews with the actors back in like 2012, 2013 up here in Auckland in our old flat with the boomiest, echoiest wooden floors and thing in the entire history of like recording sound.
Yeah.
Which I don't know would sound amazing, but wouldn't be too bad, right? I also, prior to that, you and I, or me specifically, shot a bunch of interviews with the cast and crew on the DVX 100.
Mm-hmm. The Panasonic DVX 102.
The 102, and obviously that's with like no lighting, like literally just people just sitting down and talking. But I'm sure there's probably some really interesting content in both of those things.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Adam St. John, our friend, shot a bunch of behind-the-scenes footage, and then they shot a bunch of behind-the-scenes footage. And I do have all that stuff, but the real issue is, it is like a feature-length doco that someone has to make. They have to make a feature film.
We've got to get Nocturnal on that, Sam Wheeler.
He's pretty busy.
He's pretty busy with all the other work.
He's pretty busy with real paid editing work, and that's really the issue.
Yeah.
Is that, he's rocking and rolling at the moment. So I would love to do that, and make that, because I think that's cool and that gives it, reasons to relook at it and all that sort of thing. And the issue is purely, financial, really, but it's more like, who are we going to get to take all that footage and make something out of it?
Trawl through it all.
Yeah, because it's hours of people talking about.
Well, we need someone that gives a shit about the movie. It's got to be Tyler and Sam.
Well,
Tyler, the website creator. Tyler, the VFX creator. I was
going to say, if it's Tyler, the website creator, and he hasn't created the website, we can't see him creting the documentary.
I'm giving up on that website. It's been 5 years now. I've signed up. I've signed back up for Wix again.
You've decided to make it yourself.
Screw it. This is what happens. 5 years. Still waiting for that website. And a shout out to Tyler. He did a lot of good work before he then didn't finish it and send it to me. But it did look good. HarleyNeville.com, I think it was. Yeah. Good. I bet if I go to HarleyNeville.com, there'll be some grubby squatter on there and I'll have to get HarleyNeville.net.nz or something stupid. Yeah. I'm too famous. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Squatters. I'm a target for squatters. So, good. Little bit of filmmaking trivia then, related not to I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, but to Pigville. I recently found out, and I don't remember exactly where I found this, so it might not be true.
So it may be false.
But maybe false.
Maybe it's made up.
But in my, trawling through the internet and repeatedly Googling myself and all that type of thing.
Vanity searching.
Vanity searching myself. I found that older, in South Korea, older is called Alex's Dreams Become Reality. It's called Alex's Dreams Become Reality in Korea, because it had the name, and it had older in Korea, and it had the name, and I copy-pasted it and translated it. Alex's Dreams Become Reality.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So
that might have been one of the places we sold it to.
Right.
That might have been one of our distribution deals we got when we sold it to South Korea.
So shout out to all our Korean listeners. If any of our Korean listeners are out there, please do go and check out Alex's Dreams Become Reality, our second feature film. So it's been all go, right? So before we, last time we spoke was before the film festival that I work for was in full swing. Mm-hmm. I went into the film festival, worked my ass off on that one. Everything seemed to go pretty smoothly, all things considered. Everything went pretty well. And then as soon as that finished, so that was sort of 2 weeks of events up and down the country. I'm gallivanting around, I'm doing opening nights and all that type of thing, and I'm hosting Q&As and all that type of thing. Then that finishes on a Thursday. On the Friday, boom, straight into film commission funding applications. You and me doing NZFC funding applications for Catalyst. So New Zealand film nerd listeners will know that Catalyst is a New Zealand Film Commission grant that gives you $90,000 to make a short film and $10,000 to develop the script of a feature, to work towards developing the feature version of that short film. So ultimately the idea is to make feature films and invest in directors who are making who want to make feature films, but by doing it, by giving them a good sized budget to shoot a short film and hopefully do something really cinematic and beautiful. So
I pitched the least cinematic thing you could possibly do.
Yeah, it is
found footage.
Yeah,
found footage, which absolutely shits on that premise.
Yeah. No. I think it has a pretty good chance. I think it was a pretty strong application. So I worked on that application and another application with another Sifty 150 listener, Guy McDool. Shout out to Guy McDool, and Tanya Wiley and a few others as well. And then I also put in an application for another one called Fresh Shorts with Ashley Pittman, who I believe is an occasional listener as well. So that's 3 rejections that I'm waiting on now.
Well, I mean, I would like to talk a little bit about that Catalyst application.
Because it was long and arduous and there was just so much in it.
So brutal.
So it was due on Tuesday and like Thursday I finished the festival, right? Friday, it was like, okay, cool. I've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday to get this crazy Catalyst application in. That's how long it took. It was like, setting aside a bunch of hours and then going and doing other things and then coming back and working for a bunch of hours to get it all done. Brutal. But it's a good way of weeding out the people that,
I'm sure that's going to be the
enough.
excuse they use. But like, I was thinking about it from this perspective. So I'm doing this advanced teaching course at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Which when you complete it, means that you're a qualified tertiary, is that the word I'm looking for? Teacher. Essentially, you can teach adults. That's the point of this qualification. It's a level 5 course, so it's not even actually a beginner's course. Beginner's courses are level 4 certificates. Then you move on to level 5, right? Now, this course that I'm doing, and I sort of had this thought the other day, that the pure mind-boggling insanity of it. This teaching course, which makes you a qualified teacher of adults, is less work than this fucking Catalyst fucking application.
So you're telling me that I should have become a teacher over the weekend,
exactly,
instead of putting in this application?
Like in the first, I was like, oh no, I'm exaggerating, guy. You're exaggerating. You're just bitter because you had to do this application for so long. And then I was like, oh no, hang on a second, because you do actually write the short film as well. Yeah. And I was like, well, based on the short film plus everything in the application, that is longer than my 2 different, like, massive, weighty, 50-page assignments. And I was like, something ain't right here, man. Something wrong, because you should not be asking for more than a qualification, an adult qualification's worth of work in your applications. I'm sorry, not for nothing. Like, not for nothing. It's like
it's all for a chance. That's
it's
all for a chance.
All for a little sniff. And like, to me, that's a silliness, because it's also like it doesn't become about who has the best film ideas. It's who writes the best applications. Yeah. And those two are not the same. And also it's like, look, I totally acknowledge my privilege in this situation, is that I am a writer. I started off as a writer. I'm a writer by original trade. That's the first jobs I got in the film industry, was writing. So I came from a place where I got taught to fucking read shit and write shit, in the kind of eloquent, bullshitty way that is very beneficial for these types of applications. But what if you fucking didn't? What if you're just a guy, what if you're a director who's not really a writer? You go, well, you just get the writer to do it. But half of it's about what the director's got to say.
And the writer doesn't necessarily give a shit.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not writing your director's vision for you.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I always think is really silly about all of these applications is they're like, do this budget, visualize this, picture that, do this, talk about this, do this. And it's like, yeah, okay, I did that. And then it rains. And then we didn't get that location, and then we rewrote the whole thing. Or we couldn't ever cast that person for that character, so we never found that character. So we completely changed the whole thing. We just threw it all out.
Yeah.
Or, whatever the case is. But, like, there's so many things of filmmaking which is about sort of the absolute reverse of, like, don't get me wrong, obviously meticulous planning is important, but a lot of filming is making it up on the fly when shit gets fucked up and goes completely wrong. And there's a lot of that too. And it's like, so you can write these things that are like, because I remember doing exactly this process for the zombie film, and almost every single thing that we wrote in the zombie film was wrong to some degree, was like, didn't make sense, or like when you actually got on set, it's like, oh, no, this ain't gonna work. Like a whole genius idea, like, oh, well, we'll put the crew in the film because that
give us more extras.
Yeah, because we don't need as many extras. So essentially, we're halving the amount of people we need. And it's like, no, you fucking dummy. That means
who's going to be holding the light?
Or the crew won't be doing their jobs anytime they're on the thing. You're going to be twice as slow.
Yeah.
But like,
but there was always nonsense though, right?
Well,
it was always like, yeah, but obviously we'll just figure it out when we get there.
Exactly, and I think that's the thing.
You got to say something like that.
It's almost like, we're going to these such great lengths to make up such great stories, and then it's like, but yeah, we actually have to figure it out when we get there.
Well, the good news, mate,
is we won't have to worry.
This is why you should be grateful. This is why you should be grateful, okay? We are through the great filter, okay? We're through the great filter. We finished and submitted those applications, right? So that we are through the filter. That a lot of people didn't get that far. A lot of people that had that hope, all those people you were just talking about that are not necessarily writers and all that type of thing, they didn't make it through the great filter.
Our privilege will be our victory.
Yeah, it'll get us through. Exactly. So, and it worked out quite well because it was a long weekend.
I appreciated two things, that Harley messaged them and was like, hey, by the way, this falls on a long weekend, and they're like, oh shit. So they had to extend the deadline. They didn't even
notice. Literally, the New Zealand Film Commission, this was 2 weeks out, they didn't notice that the deadline for the application was a public holiday. Yeah. And so I messaged them and was like, hey, sorry, I just noticed this. Yeah. This is a Facebook message. I was like, hey, sorry, I just noticed this because it was quite late at night.
Yeah.
Just double checking. Is it due on the public holiday or is it the next day? And they were like, well, actually, good spotting. And then they had to send out a big old email and change it all.
So we do have Harley to thank for giving us an extra day.
Everybody got an extra day. You're welcome, New Zealand film industry.
It's true. No, essentially, we do owe you a great debt of gratitude for that.
Debt of gratitude, yeah.
Now, Nocturnal says that he did that same teaching course, and it was a $70 fee and some lesson plan assessments away from getting the teaching certificate, and he never finished it after he resigned from teaching. Now, I can empathize, Sam, because essentially I've had two thoughts while I've been doing this thing. Mm-hmm. The first thought is that should I fail, so I've just handed in an assignment last week. Should I fail that assignment? Even if it was like 49%, I don't think in my heart and my soul I could possibly face redoing that assignment because this is such incredibly mundane and excruciatingly boring work. It's like doing fifth form maths again, which I failed twice. So, on the one hand, it's like, if I
did you fail the second time as well?
Yeah, I failed. I got worse the second time.
I passed the second time.
I got worse the second time. I was
quite happy with that.
I
made a concerted effort to pass.
Well, it's weird.
I got 49%, but they rounded it up.
One of the key parts of these teaching concepts they teach you is like, there has to be a point to the teaching, as in the learner, me, has to understand and be engaged by whatever the idea is that is being provided with this new learning, this new skill, this new whatever. And I think that's why I don't really have too many troubles in our space, in the digital media space, teaching people, because it's real easy to kind of show the cause and effect and how if you learn this, you can do that, and how these are real tangible skills which will lead on to, you know, giving you many things that you can do later. Whereas you don't get that here. So it's like the very thing they're teaching is a contradiction of what they're teaching. So yeah, so I've done one assignment. I've got one more assignment to go. And I left it till the very, so I did the first half of this last year, and this is like the last time I can do it while my contract is still running, where I currently teach. So if I were to like push it till next year, then I couldn't do it because I'm no longer, well, may no longer be teaching. So I left it, I literally put it off all the way through the year until the last minute. It's a 12-week course. I put it all the way off until week 10. And then I've actually had to knuckle down and do it because we had all the Catalyst stuff. So, you know, I prioritized that for the last like 2-3 months. But anyway, it's both of these things are wrong. Okay, the Catalyst shouldn't be this hard, and the teaching shouldn't be this boring. Simple as that.
Simple as that. Well, in the future we won't. In the future we won't need Catalyst. And in the future, we won't need teaching because all the kids today are becoming TikTokers. You don't need to be you don't need teaching for that. You just you can become a TikToker with an OnlyFans, and you're richer than anybody else you want to talk to. So you can just tell them all to get fucked. You can be proud of your stupidity because you're rich.
I've yet to see
That's
many
what we all aspire to.
monetize like TikTokers. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It seems much harder to make money on TikTok than many of the other platforms.
You might be right, but at the Big Screen Symposium, there was a guy who started on TikTok, who by all accounts seems to now have a big old business, and like he was obviously kind of smart with his publicity or whatever, and he's branched out to all the other platforms, and he employs people now to edit his content, and you know he's like a viral sort of success. I can't remember his name though, but he started on TikTok. He was doing his videos in his car when he got home from work, and he'd just do a TikTok in the video, like talking about his grandma and stuff like that. And people were into that, evidently. And it worked for him. So,
yeah, I've seen some interesting discourse about short form content.
Well, did you see that YouTube is now monetizing shorts.
Yes.
So the hashtag shorts, the under 1 minute videos with the vertical frame.
Have you seen the criteria for being monetized?
I cast my eye over it, but it said no. If you're it's not insane, because I think you're misunderstanding it. So it's to get monetized on YouTube, you need 1,000 hours, 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of view time.
Yep.
Or if you want to get monetized but via your shorts, then you've got to have 1,000 subscribers and like 10 million hours, or what was it? Something like 10 million views, 20 million verified views on your shorts,
Or is it like 1 million views per month? It was something quite massive.
But that's just to get monetized. But you can just get monetized the old-fashioned way with your 4,000 hours and your 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
You don't have to get 20 million views on shorts.
Yeah.
But that's just another way to do it. But yeah, it was a large number.
Hey, just get 1 million views on your shorts. Okay.
Tyler, the VFX creator, created a few shorts for us of this show. Yes. And the most successful got perhaps 2,500-ish views.
Which we would consider a great success.
A great success.
Until they made this criteria. And we were like,
20 million views in the last month or something.
We're 980,000 views off here.
Yeah, 998,000 views.
998,000 views off our monthly quota here. What is this?
Yeah.
This 2,000 was good.
Hey, you mentioned on this show a few times a few teaching faux pas where you had you accidentally put something up on the projector, like a picture of me all fat and hairy and naked.
That's right. With no context.
Yeah,
just a picture of me, fat hairy guy. Hey, let me share something with you guys. Oh, that's not it.
That's awkward. Yes. Well, I had my first one.
Yeah.
Arguably much more serious. Because I showed some short films to these teenagers that I teach. I was like, okay, cool. So I had to show these short films. I had to watch these short films for the film festival that I work for. Yeah. And I had to write some questions. So I was like, cool, well, I'm doing a digital media class. This is a great way to kill an afternoon, right? Is we can watch a few short films together and I can get them to give me some questions. What would you like to ask the director? Let's talk about how they made that. What would you like to ask? What kind of questions, And so I was like, cool, playing a few short films, played a short film, great, played another one, great, played another one, and then bam, right, and I hadn't seen these films. Films. And then bam, right there, on screen, for all to see, a fully erect penis being stroked. He was stroking it, and I was like, okay, I've seen a lot of short films. I work for a short film festival. I've seen a lot of short films, and the most graphic one I've seen before this one in terms of nudity and sexual content and nudity was a middle-aged man sodomizing a young male prostitute, and you can kind of see their balls kind of wiggling in and out of shot here and there. But it's a very brief flash of these balls. Well, this was a full erect penis. Now, it was a wide shot. It wasn't a close-up, but it was a wide shot of this dude jerking off in the shower. And I was like, hey, I really should have watched that first.
I really should have vetted these shorts.
But to be fair, I was not expecting full frontal erect nudity.
Don't they all have a rating?
Exactly. This film's been accepted into the festival. So I was like, okay, obviously there's a certain amount of, artistic integrity here. But I mean, it wasn't that bad. But still, I was like, if this job wasn't ending this year, it would be. It would be now. It will be now.
See, that's one of those things where that would 100% result in disciplinary action had someone complained.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. I was like, hey, kids, just keep it. Just don't tell anybody about that.
We're all adults here. I'm just trying to treat you like adults.
I'm just trying to treat you like adults. Penises.
Respectfully.
Adults have penises.
And they stroke them sometimes, as you can see right now on the screen, on this projector. It's happening. We're all adults, guys. Yeah, so thankfully they didn't complain.
They didn't, and then my contract finished. So there's no point in any of the 5150 listeners calling up to complain.
That's good. Yeah, that is slightly worse than my...
Yeah. Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
So it's all go. It's all go with the filmmaking at the moment. So I mentioned that I had some auditions. I also mentioned last episode that I had an audition for a web series, for a low-budget web series. I'm not sure if you remember that or not, but I had an audition for a web series pilot. So it gets worse and worse. First, it was an audition for a web series. Then it was an audition for a web series pilot.
Yeah.
Then it was an audition for a web series pilot, and the audition was at the university.
I thought you were going to say it was a proof of concept for the pilot.
Yeah. No, so it's presumably it's a student web series pilot, but it is funded. It is funded. It has got funding from funding bodies. So it's a paid gig, and I'm filming at the end of the month with one of the stars of can't remember the name, film that was shot recently. It's Chinese. I think it's Chinese, and it's like martial arts, and it was shot in Auckland. Yeah, can't remember. Anyway,
what's your part in it?
So I'm a put upon punching bag sidekick. I'm effectively Simon Ward's character from I Survived a Zombie Holocaust.
You've matured. It has been 10 years.
Yeah, I'm Richard from I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. So I'm a put upon assistant who kind of gets a punching bag. Yeah, a fat punching bag for the rest of his life. And that is coming up soon. So that's good. I also got some new headshots finally after an entire career of basically never paying for headshots. I went out and paid $300 for headshots, and they're much better. They're much better than the ones I get my mates to do. They look really good. They're way better. Turns out you get what you pay for. Yeah. So I went to Andy Crown, who is the more renowned headshot photographer around my part of Auckland anyway.
Yeah, how come yours cost $300? I feel like mine cost $450.
Oh, it was probably, I don't know.
COVID.
She might just be a fan. She's probably just a fan of mine. Something like that. So yeah, $300 though, and those will be coming out soon on my website. My agent's website. So that's good. Yeah, what do you got?
Well, I mean, I may as well bring this up now because your boy's in trouble.
Yeah?
Daddy Musk.
Oh.
Daddy Musk's empire is crumbling.
Yeah, you reckon?
Well, it's not. I mean, there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
I mean, have you checked your stock lately?
Yeah. I'm buying more, mate. Just piling in, brother. I'm just piling in.
Well,
Me and Adam St. John, we're piling in.
Well, and look, it may recover.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's, certainly I'm not saying that this could not be the case.
Yeah.
But certainly one of the sort of scenarios they have suggested is that essentially this Twitter purchase, this dick swinging contest, this giant say something no backsies situation that he created for himself could sort of basically cause him to lose both Tesla and Twitter.
Yeah.
Ultimately, because essentially he was like, yeah, I'll buy Twitter. Yeah, I'll fucking do it.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And then they're like, okay. And he was like, oh, no. When I said that, I mean, like, and they're like, no, that you can't. There's no backsies.
No backsies.
No backsies. And then he was like, oh, fuck. And then he bought it. And then he was like, oh, fuck, this thing loses money. And then everyone was like, fuck you, Elon. And now this thing's losing more money.
Yeah.
And now he's like, hey, now become verified. But the whole I don't know if you've been following all this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, mate, of course.
But the verification
Follow everything
system,
Daddy Musk does.
the verification system has not worked the way that he was hoping.
But that is hilarious how it's backfired.
Yeah.
It's such a hilarious way for it all to backfire.
Sure, absolutely. But it's also like, and I don't know if you've been checking his tweets, but
He's sounding increasingly unhinged.
I was going to say he's sounding less and less like a genius tech billionaire.
Yeah.
And more like a crazy struggling, battling for his sanity millionaire.
Yeah.
With each tweet. I just wanted to flag that because, obviously I know that you're a big Tesla fan.
Yeah.
And obviously that stock has dramatically dropped, not because of anything Tesla's doing, but as a result of these shenanigans on Twitter.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly why, mate. You got to go to the bank, take out all your fucking money and put it on the Tesla now, because this is all it's all chaff.
No,
you know?
I was going to say
all
it's
just
a tempest in a teapot.
It's a tempest in a teapot.
When was the last time we said that?
3 years ago. It's a tempest in a teapot, mate. And the thing is that the company fundamentals are still the same. Nothing has really changed with the company. They're still selling every car they've made. They've still got long wait times. They've still got better technology than the nearest competitor. They're still years ahead in terms of the EV market. And then if you're worried about like the macroeconomic environment with the energy crisis and food crisis and all this stuff, these guys work in energy as well. So he's working in EVs, Tesla, I mean, but also working in energy. So it's like, cool. Well, like energy might be a good one to invest into at the moment, for you, the investor at home. It's like, well, you already are. If you buy Tesla, you're investing in energy as well. Good stuff. And then so it's basically all this sort of, it's just all this distraction. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt is what they call it, FUD. And it's all just a big old distraction. It's like, cool, well, whatever. I mean, the company fundamentals are the same, but the stock is at bargain basement prices to do with all of this noise from from Twitter, but also to do with, things that are out of, that have nothing to do with Tesla, like the inflation and, various supply chain issues to do with the war and COVID and all of these types of things, right? So all of that combined, it's like, cool, well, actually, now's a really good time to put the house on it, right? Remortgage the house, put it on the Tesla stock, right?
No.
Because in a couple of years, this
one's going to be one for the archives. This one is going to be
in a couple of years, you're going to look back and you're going to go, well, shit. I wish I was buying. I wish I went balls deep on Tesla in 22. God, I'm an idiot. I wish I'd done that. Wish I'd mortgaged the house and sold the kids. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
He did
you know,
also.
geniuses always do seem a bit insane to sort of, you know,
when you hear from them in real life,
the plebiscite.
You hear from the discourse. Anyway, there's a lot of backlash.
A lot of it is noise, though. Like, honestly, a lot of it is noise. And even the Tesla
I know a lot of woke people are really hating on him at the moment, Harley.
Yeah, but
I know you are of the woke agenda.
I am of the woke agenda, but the thing is that woke people are on the way out now. I've told you already on this show, mate. It's alt-right. Alt-right's the place to be now. But you've got to call yourself centre-right. Otherwise, it's like, you know, people will think you're too far. But you've got to be full extreme alt-right, but call yourself centre-right. That's what the mayor of Auckland did. The new mayor of Auckland.
Fucking hell.
He's centre-right.
Len fucking what? Wayne? Is it Wayne Brown?
Brown? Is that who it is? You might be right. I didn't vote for him.
Yeah, no, me neither.
So, but yes, so good.
So you're all on board. You got no problem. You're getting your blue check tomorrow.
Oh no, I'm not paying too much attention to Twitter. Like, I don't really care too much about the Twitter thing. But I sort of.
Well, you will care if it does go bottom out.
Well, if it goes bottom out,
because he's not then gonna be able to, like, he's gonna have to essentially leverage a lot more of Tesla to
save Twitter,
or not even save Twitter. To save him the money that he owes.
Yeah.
So yes, I'd be keeping an eye.
Well, you might be right.
I'd be watching Twitter with great interest.
You might be right. I guess we'll see in a few years. We'll see.
Time will tell.
We'll see which strategy pays off.
Well, there was just a couple of interesting articles that I read about it, which sort of just talked about the life cycle of social media and how social media is not like movies or something, and essentially it has this thing where it builds, reaches an apex, and then it just plummets. And this has happened on multiple social media sites.
Do you mean in terms of like
popularity
of a site,
viability?
So MySpace is really hot, and then suddenly it's not.
And then suddenly it's Bebo. Bebo's gone. High Five, remember High Five, guys?
Yeah.
Come on. So. And Vine.
No, I remember the band High Five.
Vine and so that
Five will make you get down now.
Anyway,
no, that's not
which
them.
sort
That's
of
Five.
segues into my next sort of topic, which is Meta. I have one more.
He's going to have another one of these delicious Montez summer ales. A nice summery beer.
The first ones are always good. It's the second one that gets you.
Yeah. Well, don't worry, mate. That's the last one. There's no more left.
So essentially, Facebook, which is now called Meta, is experiencing this life cycle.
Yeah.
But it's way past its peak now. It's not at its top. It's not, certainly, as Harley would have once said, is now considered fiercely uncool by young people. They have no time for Facebook. It's a place for your mums and dads to, post things that no one's paying attention to.
Yeah.
And
well, I have noticed that at a lot of events, that I'm at, film and TV events, people used to be like, connect on Facebook. And now they're like, where can I connect with you? And I'm like, well, fuck, I don't want to connect with them on Insta, really, because Insta is not really the same social media dynamic. It's just looking at pictures.
Kind of
just looking at pictures, so I'm always like, Facebook, and then they're either like, well, have you got TikTok, old man? Or they're like, they add me, but then they've got like a really inactive profile with a profile picture from 5 years ago, and they don't check it.
You send them a message. Hey, I noticed your profile is very inactive here on this happening site.
Yeah.
What's Amy? You do coffee? They never check it because they're not on it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, Facebook is sort of on the decline, and then they rebranded to Meta, and the idea, and this is based off this sort of article, is that, okay, we're going to go all in on Meta. We're going all in on the Metaverse.
Yeah.
Which, as some other people have mentioned, is basically the Wii, Nintendo's online Wii thing with the little me characters.
Yeah.
And like that's the advancement of the technology so far.
Yeah.
And the idea being that we fucking VR everything.
Yeah.
Right? And we're all these avatars walking around. And old Zuck's gone, talking about balls deep, Zuck's gone balls deep on this because he understands Facebook has peaked and is now on the way down.
Yeah.
Which means all it's going to do is start losing value, losing money, creating problems. And so you need to leverage that power into the new thing and get everyone on board with that to go through the cycle again. And so he's gone with Meta, but there's been many problems reported with Meta, like that they can't do legs. It was a big issue. They couldn't do legs in the metaverse. There's no legs in the metaverse for a long period of time.
Too bad if you're a leg man.
And then that they spent like millions of dollars trying to figure out how to do legs.
Yeah.
Like, you know, how to legs was going to be the revolution of the metaverse, that people could have legs. They're not just floating fucking torsos rotating around. And anyway, they've sunk insane amounts of money into this thing. And there's sort of conversations on like why.
And now he's laying off 13%.
And now, and now he's laying off, I think it's 11%.
Right.
Of the workforce because it's just like this kind of thing that no one goes on or cares about.
It's too early. He's too early.
He's ahead of his time.
He's ahead of his time again.
A visionary.
But I tell you what, he might be doing the exact right thing, which is the market's tanking, everything's going wrong. He's investing in...
He's doubled down.
He's doubled down. He's investing in a future technology that may or may not pay off. And ultimately, I do think the metaverse is a real thing that is going to happen, where it's like, instead of doing a Zoom call, you like bang on your glasses or whatever, and you have this augmented reality. You can still walk around the house. You can still see the table. You don't whack your shin into it, you know, but you're having a conversation. You can see the person kind of as if they're there, or you can project whatever it is that you're talking about, you know, show them your Google search, which with a 3D object that's actually there, and it feels like you're in the same room. Yeah, it all makes sense. I think it's all going to happen eventually. It's a natural evolution of the internet. The problem is, did Zuck shoot his load too early?
Oh, way too early.
That's the problem. I mean, this might be a 2030s thing, you know, and he'll be forever remembered as a visionary. That was far too early.
Tyler Adams says, Quest 2 fanboy right here. He says, bring on the metaverse.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about this, so I guess there's issues with the thing about like how good are these headsets?
Yeah.
And how comfortable are these headsets? Yeah. And how, you know, viable it is. Like, you know, like for instance, when I put on a headset, like a PS1, PS4, PS5, or whatever. PS4. I've never had a PS5. Let's be real.
Let's be real.
Let's just real fucking talk here. I got sick.
Yeah.
And I don't get motion sick.
Yeah. You got a sick,
but I got a sick
tummy.
tummy. My tummy got sore. I had to take it off after 15 minutes because I was feeling queasy.
I used 5150 listener. Yeah, damn, forgotten his. Oh, Ben Fowler. I used Ben Fowler's VR headset and had spiders crawling up my legs. Yeah. It was all right. It seemed pretty cool.
How long did you have it on for?
Probably not for, maybe 15 minutes max, you know. Right. I wasn't playing a game and running around and shooting.
Hot, sweaty, bothered.
Yeah.
Was bothered.
Yeah.
And then I felt like I was just going to throw up. And I was like, fuck, I just bought a bunch of games in this stupid fucking headset and I can't play this shit. Maybe I really should have, unfortunately.
Tried it in the store.
I was going to say, I really should have hired it first from Blockbuster, which doesn't exist anymore, where you could test these things out before you buy them. Now you're just going to buy shit.
Tyler Adams says he got motion sick for the first month, but only bad on a racing game. So all you need is a month of feeling miserable, with an upset tummy, sweating and vomiting, and then you can enjoy video games again, which is what you were doing before you bought that VR headset anyway.
Without all of that stuff.
Without all of the vomiting.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. So this article, one of these articles pitched a particular concept, which I thought was really interesting, which is like, why is Zuck into the thing? Like, why is he so into the metaverse? And the sort of the idea that was posed, which I thought was kind of fascinating, was that it's actually nothing to do with VR being cool or VR necessarily being the next thing or whatever. It's all to do with the singularity, and it's actually all to do with these sort of rich tech billionaires wanting to become gods. Yeah. And so the idea is like,
I'm glad that Daddy Musk is in the lead on that. I'm glad that it's not the Zuck who's in the lead on that one. So, on the AI front.
So yeah, so basically the idea is like, you know, because that's the thing, is once you become a certain amount of rich and a certain amount of successful, there's nothing that Zuckerberg can't really buy in this world. You can't get more successful than he is at a thing, doing a thing, being a CEO of a thing. Like, you can't do that. So in terms of like peaking in terms of life achievements, there's nothing. You're at this point where you're like, cool, I am looking down on the rest of humanity in sort of my life. And the only thing left for me to do is cheat death. because that's the only thing we haven't been able to do. Us rich tech billionaires haven't managed yet. We haven't managed cheating death yet. So let me create Metaverse to upload my consciousness eventually, obviously not now, but down the road when I'm older, and live forever immortal in the Metaverse as a god of the Metaverse. And I was like, fuck, that's a cool concept. And then I was like, and their idea was that there'd be two classes of people, that there would essentially be the Metaverse peeps in the Metaverse, immortal in the Metaverse, except that they're not truly immortal because they've still got to run on servers and power and all that sort of thing. Those things will have to exist forever. And so there's essentially us, the commoners, who are essentially fighting wars for them protecting server stations around the world to prevent the meta gods from getting disconnected. And that there would sort of be the class of people in the Metaverse, and then there'd be a class of people in the real world helping to facilitate the Metaverse, the poor people, shall we say.
Like daywalkers who work with vampires.
Exactly, exactly. And I was like, look, I don't know if that's really the case, but, you know, I do understand the concept that may have been a thought in the back of his mind, that he's going to be like, yeah, I'm going to invent this shit and I'm going to fucking upload my consciousness because Zuck's got nothing else here and I've done everything there is to do in the earth. So I'm ascending. I'm ascending.
Well, the thing is, right, that if you can upload your consciousness to this metaverse and get online and be a consciousness that is online, that is free to wander online, you can potentially, if you become a sort of an intelligence, you can potentially create real world things anyway. So, you know, you might be on a computer, but you can create more servers and you can create robots that will protect your servers and that type of thing. So you can really go all the way. And then what you can do, right, is if you're like, oh, I'm a bit worried about people,
shutting down my
servers. Well, I tell you what you do, mate. You get a high-powered laser and you beam some energy. You know, we all know that energy and mass are the same thing. They're just at different vibrations, different speeds, right? And so what you do is you send a laser to the moon, you catch the laser, you transfer it into matter, and then you use that matter to build up your own servers on the moon. Nobody can touch you there. Or Mars.
What if someone sends a missile to the moon?
Well, maybe.
Server.
Well, I mean, you got to prepare for any eventuality. I guess that could happen, but you could also create anti-aircraft defenses, AA defenses on the moon. There's no air on the moon though, so you couldn't call them AA defenses. You'd have to call them
something.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you'd call the atmosphere on the moon. Not air.
Nocturnal says about 30% of the population have issues with the VR due to the ocular thing, right?
Yeah.
Which I thought that's a really interesting stat. And Nocturnal says they all sort of want to become the rich eccentric that invents the real life version of Ready Player One. Yeah, that's the. And have you seen Ready Player One?
No, I gave it up. I didn't give that one a go because it looked too cartoony.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, no, I heard it was good. I was on my to-do list, and I think I was even catching a plane, and it was right there, Ready Player One. But I just ignored it. I just raw-dogged reality and stared at the headset again. The headrest in front of me.
Nocturnal says transhumanism.
Yeah,
so,
I'm trans.
So
transhuman.
The meta-gods. I just think that's a really interesting concept, and I certainly don't think it's outside the realms of possibility that is the Zuck agenda to some degree. But I also really feel like, yeah, maybe he's ahead of his time, or maybe most people just don't give a fuck. And like that's the problem when you get real rich, regardless of whatever thing is, whatever your vocation. When you get real rich, you get disconnected from the common man. And, you know, he was like, this is a real awesome, important thing that everyone's going to love to do. And you and I were like, oh, I don't want to pay $1,000 for a headset.
Yeah. No.
The end. The end of the conversation.
Also, not that interested in just hanging out in this metaverse very often. Got shit to do. Kind of busy. Got other crap to do.
Got to write this Catalyst fund.
Yeah.
And also, what's the point? Like, if you're, say, writing an application in the metaverse, what upside would there be to doing it in the metaverse?
You've just got to wear this annoying mask. You've got to wear this hot, sweaty...
getting motion sickness, trying to look at my document floating in front of me in the thing, and I'm like...
You're miserably typing in the metaverse and all sweaty. Yeah.
Yeah. Tyler Adams says he really enjoyed Player One. Bravo, Steven Spielberg. Yeah, I did too. I thought it was cool. Yeah. So anyway, that's what Zuckerberg's trying to do, is what I'm saying.
Shout out.
We called it here on the podcast.
Shout out to Johnny Barker, New Zealand celebrity, bona fide New Zealand celebrity Johnny Barker, who I talked to the other day. We have the same agent. I talked to him at the party, our agent's party, and
I was going to say he was a fan of the podcast.
Well, no, he was like, I mentioned the podcast. He was like, you do a podcast? We're talking about lots of different stuff. I mean, and I mentioned the podcast. He's like, you do a podcast? And I was like, I do, mate. It's the Guy and Harley podcast. And right there in front of me, he got his phone out, looked it up. So bloody good on you, Johnny. And he said, I look forward to hearing you guys talk shit about filmmaking.
That's what we do best.
Well, there hasn't been a lot of filmmaking in most of the episodes, but
we certainly covered it here.
It is a filmmaking podcast.
We did as a podcast about our lives.
Yeah.
And we definitely talk shit about filmmaking here today.
I'm reading a couple of books at the moment.
Yeah.
One of them, Jordan Peterson's book.
Oh, fuck.
12 Rules.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I downloaded that.
Yeah.
Not because I'm a Jordan Peterson. In fact, again, it's like the same way that you study Hitler.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of how I've been studying Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
Like this sick curiosity, this fascination that bordering on obsession. Is sort of like, I've gone down many Jordan Peterson rabbit holes on like YouTube because I'm trying to kind of just find out and assess, like, what is this man about?
Yeah.
You know, what is this man about? And how does he sort of essentially cultify a group of like people and ostracize another? And like, also, is it now he a somewhat brain damaged, insane person ranting and raving because he's figured out a way to monetize it? And I think the answer to that last bit is yes. But I think the answer is a bit more complicated to that in terms of where he started with that book.
Well, no, he had another book first.
I thought the 12 Rules was the first one.
No, he had another one earlier that was not successful at all. But it was apparently very dense and sort of very like academic and dense and, you know, and all that. And then so this one was more created to be more, you know, accessible to the common pleb, the common imbecile on the street.
And you picked up a copy?
So I picked up a copy. The reason
why I did too. I just haven't listened to it.
See, I got the actual book too.
See,
when I say actual book, I do mean Kindle.
Okay,
but I mean I'm not listening to it.
I used my free
audiobook,
Audible credit to buy that book.
Well, I've also got Audible. That shit's insane. Have you guys heard that you can hear books? Have you heard about this Audible thing? You can listen to books, everybody.
You don't have to read them anymore.
You don't have to hold it.
You can just be walking around listening to it. It's like reading, but you're listening.
And you're driving to work, and you're just getting information inserted directly into your brain. It's incredible. It's incredible. So I've joined Audible. I'll put a link in the description once I find my referral. Once I find my referral link, I'll put that in the description. So I have downloaded his book. I'm about halfway through it. I'm about rule 6 of 12. And my first impression was like, man, this guy is full of shit.
Yeah.
Absolute dribble.
Yeah.
Like he'll state something. And then he'll say, this is a true thing. And then he'll say, so therefore, this, that, the other thing. And he makes some very compelling arguments. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, this, that, the other thing. Wait, yeah, okay, that all makes sense. And then you go back to his original statement and you go, but wait a minute, this thing that you've stated to be true is nonsense. So therefore, all of this bullshit is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, it's compelling bullshit to prove something which is not true.
Well, you have right there in that statement uncovered a very common, shall we say, Petersonism. This is something that he does very, very well. From what I have seen, and sort of some deconstructions of some of his ideas, it's exactly what you listed. But anyway, but that was the beginning.
No. So
you're a full convert.
So now I'm full alt-right.
Now
I'm alt-right, JP.
I was going to say, now you have become a full-on pedophile.
I see what you did there. Not bad. Peterson file might have been a little less offensive. But yeah, I get it. Yeah, well, so it was all right, and then I'm only halfway through, so I'm going to give it a good go. I'm gonna finish it. He did, it's a bit more airy fairy, and he really talks about God a lot, and he talks about like
don't let that God talk.
The Bible a lot and all that, and he's like, well, the Bible is very much treating the Bible to be sort of a source of reliable knowledge, and
reliable source of like factual information.
But not just like, so he does have the historic thing, like he does verify things historically. So it's not like he says the Bible says this, therefore it's true.
Yeah.
But it's more like he says the Bible says this, and then he interprets it however he wants to. So he says, this is what the Bible says, and actually this is an anecdote which talks about the duality of man and how you've got to do this and do that and the other thing. And it's like, no, it was written by heaps of different people over hundreds of years. It's fucking nonsense, written by people who are mostly illiterate.
And some
who didn't have access to the internet, for crying out loud.
Some dude caught a fish.
He caught a fish.
He caught a fish. That's all he did. He just caught a fish. It's not a metaphor. You can't take a thing. That doesn't mean that means this. He just caught a fucking fish in it.
But he did say some interesting stuff. Like he said that there's this duality in humans, You
got to the hierarchy stuff yet?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I'm reading it a few pages at a time.
Loves hierarchies.
Yeah, he does. He is talking a lot about hierarchies. Actually, he opens talking about hierarchies.
He's real big on hierarchy.
Yeah.
Has he told the lobster story?
Yeah, that's quite early in the book.
Lobster story is key.
Yeah, the lobster story.
Absolutely key.
Well, it made me want to be a big lobster after that. Made me. When I read his lobster story, I was like, well, I want to be an aggressive lobster.
Yeah, there's an interesting thing where someone else
married.
Is basically like
he loves marriage. Yeah, big fan of marriage.
That lobster story is not true. Like as in that.
Well, factually, the evolution stuff is not true.
And like just conceptually, the how the lobsters react and when they do this, they don't do that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. He states something and then he says this, all based off this thing, this statement that he's made.
Yeah.
And the statement is not necessarily very sensible or doesn't really actually make that much sense.
Yes.
But the thing that he did say that was kind of interesting was about the duality of man, and about how, like it was talking about yin and yang, the yin and yang sign and stuff. And he was saying that you can be like kind of, too conservative, and you can be too loose and liberal, and you can be too safe, or you can be, too wild and unsafe. And he said that, what you need is to walk that line between yin and yang, where you've got some security, say solid friendships, say a loving partner, right? This is the security, but you've also got this chaos, which is like, new jobs and new things and new experiences and things that force you to learn and things that take you out of your comfort zone. And he said the secret to happiness in life is to straddle that line between, some comfort and some chaos, some reliability and some unpredictability. And then that way you're constantly forced to learn, but you also don't feel like you're just cartwheeling through the universe, cartwheeling through space, spinning on this gas ball. And so I thought that was quite good. I was like, well, look, I mean, that's pretty fair. I think that's actually pretty solid advice, like basically, I mean, you might argue it's not that original to say, well, like have a nice home life, but also like keep yourself a little bit uncomfortable at all times in order to continue moving, but still, it was pretty good. I was like, all right, pedo.
You got me, Pedo. You got me. I'm a fan. I'm a pedophile now.
A Peterson file. Okay. The other book I'm reading, and this is the audiobook, is called Life 3.0, and it's all about artificial intelligence and how it would expand and how it might be developed and what it could do to change the world. And basically, the takeaway I'm getting here is that there's no chance we're going to meet aliens. We're only ever going to meet alien signals. But these alien signals that have been sent at the speed of light through space are still, really old and from very far away, and that these signals may or may not, contain information which then helps to spread an artificial intelligence, from somewhere else or from here. We could spread it from here. But say we encounter an alien civilization, it's probably going to be a signal, a digital signal. It's going to tell us to build a machine or something like that. And then we're going to build the machine, and it's basically going to replicate itself on our planet, this artificial intelligence, and then beam to the next planet, beam to the next solar system, and we'll just get absorbed into its empire that way. But basically the original people that created this artificial
Mass
intelligence,
Effect style.
they'll be long gone. They'll be long gone. They won't exist anymore. It'll be purely digital, digital life, digital intelligence. And if they need to do something physical in the real world, they'll build a robot for it. Yeah, it's good stuff. So the reason why I'm reading all these books as well is because they're on the top 100 books of a YouTuber I've been, like thrashing for the last 3 years. Stephen Mark Ryan of Solving the Money Problem, and he posted his 100 top books. And
Fucking
so
Peterson, really?
it was the only one, and it wasn't like it blows my mind one. It was just on the top 100. Okay. So I've read about 6. Or something like that of the 100 books.
6 of the 100.
6 of the 100 books.
Getting through them.
Yeah. I had read maybe one of them or 2 of them before looking at that list.
Yeah,
so I'm working through it anyway. I'm growing my brain.
I need to send you a link to. I watched a 3-hour sort of takedown of Jordan Peterson.
Right. Yeah.
That goes through his history and all the things that he's sort of done and said wrong. It's pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Worth a read, but I do want to get the other side of it. But what did I fucking subject myself to? I listened to a big chunk of some Peterson talk, and I was just like, but the thing
I've
is,
seen a few YouTube ones, and I was like, this is all right. I don't mind this.
So the problem with Peterson, from what I can understand, well, I mean, whether or not you're sort of on board at the 12 principle stages.
Yeah, the 12 rules.
The 12 rules is that from the 12 rules, he's veered further and further alt-right.
Yeah.
Right?
He made another one called Another 12 Rules or something.
And so, but like his original concept was that, hey, I'm not left or right, and I feel both are bad for various reasons. So don't at me, bro. That was his philosophy.
Yeah.
But that is slowly, as the, I guess, left has been more critical of his work, headed towards actually, fuck you woke people. I would rather die than call a trans person by their trans name.
Right. Yeah.
And also he's now doing...
He's out here dead naming people.
And he's out here dead naming people. Not only that, he's out here essentially doing a very lucrative show on Ben Shapiro's streaming network.
Yeah.
Famous right-wing asshole. And also, but the big piece in this Peterson puzzle is the fact that he almost died getting himself off benzos.
Oh, right, yeah.
Almost died, went into a coma, definitely suffered some significant brain damage, almost died from COVID, and now is kind of like a sort of a crazy...
Was he pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine or anything like that?
I don't remember what the statements were, but it's the same problem where it's like, so are you... what do you think about gay people? And he'll be like, well, the thing about gay people is that there's many factors to consider when you say gay people. What does gay mean? Does gay mean this or does it mean that? And what type of relationship? And it's like, no, just fucking answer the question. What do you think? And that's his whole default is never answer anything that could upset right-wing people with a straight answer.
Right.
Never openly say, yeah, stuff wrong with gay people, all good. To each their own. Let's do it. Right? He will never say that. He will just say a bunch of Confucius shit that never answers the question. And so he's just got more and more like that as time goes on. I actually messaged my dad about it. I was like, what do you think about this Peterson fella? Because like I said, my obsession is like Hitler-like.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you think about this Peters? I was like, is he a lunatic? Was he a good dude to begin with and became a, what do you think? And he goes, oh, I've written him off. I've written him off long ago as a crazy person. There's also a lot of discussion about how...
but did your dad say anything that was there anything good about Jordan?
No. But, I don't know.
He was just like, no, just like basically, I've written him off.
Don't want to hear about it. 100% written him off as a nut job.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, okay, interesting. And also there's this other conversation about that also potentially, because, you know, he basically hinges his whole kind of credibility on the fact that he is a psychologist. Like, he is a psychologist. He does have that degree, and he taught psychology for many, many years, even at the beginning of his fame. But now there's a lot of stuff about how essentially he was like essentially just teaching his crazy stuff that was not meant to be taught and was not like the correct way to teach. And that someone sat in with him.
But it worked, though, because he's a tenured professor for the next 15 years or something.
Well, that's the thing.
Prestigious American university.
Yeah, but that's a new place that he's started. But the place that he was originally working, excuse me, that's just the COVID talking.
COVID you.
God COVID you. Yeah, essentially is that like fellow lecturers sat in with him and was like basically like, what the fuck are you teaching? This isn't the curriculum.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I'm Jordan Peterson. This
That's
is
like
what I think now.
That's like me and you. That's like me and you where you teach.
Yeah.
I come in and I'm like, oh, this is not the curriculum.
And I go, I'm Jordan Peterson. This is what I like to do.
I'm Guy Pigden.
Well, when you say curriculum, what does curriculum really mean? What does curriculum mean? 'Cause I guess you haven't got to the disbelief of climate change yet.
Well, so have you started reading the book? I thought you said you downloaded it, but you hadn't started
Yeah,
yet.
no, this is all post this book. This is
is his next book.
No, this is not his book. This is like his kind of internet life, I suppose.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, I listened to his 3-hour podcast on fucking Joe Rogan.
Right.
And he basically said that climate change didn't exist, for example.
Right.
And I was like, well, really losing me now.
But what's his like? How can you defend a statement like that with anything that's not pseudoscience?
Well, I'd encourage you. It's almost like we need to play a clip of it because it's not. Joe Rogan is not on board.
No.
Joe Rogan is.
That's good.
Joe Rogan is sitting there going, "I'm listening to the musings of a madman here."
Yeah.
And very often he'll go, "No, but there's very real." Things that can be measured, and he's like, no, but, and he kind of does the Peterson thing. He's like, no, but what is climate change? I mean, what is climate?
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck do you mean, what is climate?
You can Google this.
But the problem is when you kind of keep asking these circular questions that don't necessarily, it's like, oh, we've gone even away from the answer to talking about a whole bunch of other horse shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jordan Peterson, everybody. Tyler Adams asks, have you caught the new Henry Selick film on Netflix? No, and I don't know who Henry Selick is.
It's the guy from Happy Days. Hey, the Fonz.
Fuck, what is his name? It's different. Well, it's not Henry Selick.
It's Henry. His name's Henry. Henry Winkler.
That's Henry Winkler.
Hey. Yeah, I love that guy, Henry Selkler.
But he says it reminded him, or it felt like revisiting the stop motion world of Monkey Bone. Okay, so he's the guy that did Coraline and Nightmare Before Christmas, which I'm assuming you have seen Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, I have seen a bit of that. Yeah. Did see that one. Forced to watch it at one of my jobs at some point. So
I don't know if you've seen Monkey Bone. That's a weird film.
I don't think I have. No.
It's with Brendan Fraser, and he's got like a stop motion like little monkey that like is up to mischief.
Yeah.
But the trailer makes it seem like it's gonna be really funny.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like not. But it's just also not that type of film. It's more of a weird film anyway.
Well, speaking of films, I got some good news recently. So last weekend, long-term listeners will know that
you've started mixing your alcohol now. So you have a swig of beer and then you have a shot of fucking whatever that is.
Not a shot of it, just a little sip of Jägermeister.
To wash the beer down. A little Jäger to wash the beer down.
So you just have a tiny little sip of the Jaeger.
Yeah.
Or Cointreau or whatever you like. Whiskey and then a little sip of beer. You just alternate. It's how the Mexicans do it with their tequila. I drank with a bunch of old Mexican men when I was in Mexico, and the way they would drink their tequila was not a shot like the students in Dunedin would do it. Never. What it was they'd have a shot of it there, and they'd have a beer, a lager, and they would just have a sip of a lager and a little sip of their tequila, a little sip of their lager, and a little sip of their tequila, and just alternate. And I tell you what, really works. It's good. It's good. It's like, because you don't get bored of beer. You don't get bored of whatever your other thing is. Yeah. So I went last week. So long-term listeners will know that at the beginning of this year, I produced a short film for a Chinese filmmaker, and all of the cast and crew that I was trying to find all had to speak Mandarin. And this film was called Dabai, and we shot it in lockdown at the beginning of 2022. We were still in lockdown here in Auckland, and orange traffic light setting. Yeah, and so we were at the orange traffic, whatever it was. And so we shot it, and it turned out pretty great. I think it turned out really good. It's a great film. The director, Pongbo Wang, did a good job of putting it all together and put it together relatively quickly and all that, the post-production. And then it's now been sent away to various film festivals. It did not get into the film festival that I work for, sadly, but it did get into a film festival in Australia, and it also got into a film festival at the top of the South Island. It's called the Top of the South Film Festival, and that's where it had this weekend its world premiere. So it had a world premiere this weekend, and it was nominated for Best New Zealand Film. And I am proud to report that it did win. I am the winner of I am the producer of the film.
I'm the producer of the winner.
I am the producer of the winner. I'm the producer of the film that won Best New Zealand Film at the Top of the South Film Festival.
Best short.
Yeah,
Did they have features?
No, there was no features. It was all shorts.
Just best short.
Yeah, so it was best short. So best New Zealand short, but it doesn't specify short because they only do shorts. But in Best New Zealand Film at the Top of the South Film Festival, I went down there, had a great old time, amazing weather, amazing, really fun party, good people, and was quite surprised to win, to be honest. I had not planned, I did not expect to win. And then so...
That's when they get you with the win.
Did not prepare anything to say, and then they said, and the winner is Harley Neville for Dubai. And the funny thing was that the director was there. The director had written it and directed it and edited it and done all of the everything, right? So I'm like, okay, and I'm like, no, it wasn't me. And so I call him down with me. I'm like, let's go to the front, mate. So we both go down to the front, and then I received the trophy, and it says
Harley Neville,
Best New Zealand Film, Harley Neville, Dubai. And I was like, all right, well, that's look, I mean, I don't know why that happened, but
look, I don't know why that happened.
I'm just Harley Nevilling it.
But this trophy is mine, and you don't get it.
Yeah, well, the thing is that he was like, "Can I keep it?" And I was like, "Obviously, literally, it should say your name on it." And it should not say the producer's name.
This is a clerical error.
This is a clerical error. It should not say the producer's name here. It should really say your name. Yeah. So he kept it. But now the poor bugger, he's got to put up a trophy in his lounge that says "Best Film Dubai Harley Neville," and everyone's going to be like, "Who the fuck's Harley Neville?"
Why do you have his trophy in your...
Why do you have Harley Neville's trophy? Shouldn't you give Harley his trophy?
I think it's time... Hey, I think we had a talk. I've seen that trophy there for 3 years. I think it's about time you gave that back to him, because he probably is wondering where that is.
Your name is not Harley. But so that is kind of... It's a shame for both of us, really, because now he's lumped with a trophy that doesn't say his name, and I know there's a trophy somewhere that says Best Film Harley Neville, and I don't get to keep it. I don't have the fucking thing. So, but we did win, so I'm very happy with that. That was a resounding success. And then I also got asked about a week beforehand to be the MC for the awards night. So I was the MC of the awards night, but they gave out my award earlier that day at the world premiere. But it was still a bit weird. So I was the MC of the awards night, sold out crowd. Hadn't really done any prep because I've been very busy. And so I showed up. I was wearing my best ripped jeans, and I was unshaven, ripped jeans, bald grey hair, and a shirt with my fat guts hanging out the bottom of it. But it went very well. It was a good fun screening, and luckily there was no dramas, and everybody seemed to have a good time. And all in all, a resounding success. So
I will say that update. Anytime I've been asked to MC, which was once, it was a great night. Yeah. So never say no to MCing, judging by our track record.
Yeah, no, I've never regretted it. I was this close to saying no. I was like, I think I'm going to say no to this because it's work. I'm not being paid. It's going to add extra stress to my holiday. I'm meant to be going down here to enjoy this film festival and just have a nice time and have kind of a holiday.
At the thing if you
having to fucking shit faced
talk announce winners, you know?
Yeah, well, seasoned alcoholic, you can work it out. You can figure out a way. But so,
well, you have to develop a tolerance.
Yeah, exactly. So I can have 16 beers and then do the MC
fine.
the event. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was this close to giving up. But then, she who shall be named, she said, I know you're going to do it because that's the kind of person you are.
And unfortunately, her saying that
forced me to do it
because it's absolutely not the person you are, but to live up to the statement meant that you had to do it.
No, it's actually the opposite though. She didn't want me to do it because then it turns this holiday into a work holiday. You know, it makes it much worse. So she didn't actually want me to do it. She was like, no, I know you're going to do it because that's the kind of person you are.
It's lucky I wasn't around.
Well, you'd be like, that's not the type of person he
exactly.
is.
I was like, oh, I know you're going to say no because that's the type of person you are.
But that's bullshit. I say yes to most things.
Except when it counts. Power of the dog.
I never stood a chance, mate. I never stood a chance.
Handpicked by Jane Campion. I don't have time. Sorry. Really? Is Jane Campion on the line? No, don't care. We gave you the whole script. Didn't read it. What? Yeah, well, I don't want to read the whole thing. I just need my part.
Yeah,
it's actually made this harder for me because I got to trawl through all this bullshit trying to get to my pages.
They're called sides.
Can you please
give me my sides?
Learn about it. So also Tyler asks, or he said he's done a bunch of horror binging on the live stream. He says he finally saw the original Fright Night and instantly one of his faves.
Do you want to go and see Terrifier 2 with me?
Well, yeah, I'll be up for that.
The New Zealand premiere.
I'll be up for that.
Did you see that advertised?
I did see that advertised.
So I was thinking of going, and I thought of inviting you to go Terrifier 2 at the Hollywood Avondale New Zealand premiere, but I don't know when it is. I need to double check those dates.
Yeah, if there's no clash, I'd be definitely keen.
Yeah.
So Fright Night is a great film. Much better than the remake of Fright Night, which is really shit by comparison. But yeah, original Fright Night, that was the 80s horror kind of, was a golden time for 80s horror where they were really just doing like just lots of good shit, like all the Nightmare on Elm Street films and Jason and Halloween and Fright Night is one of them. And then also Nocturnal asks, have you seen Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities on Netflix?
I haven't. I have not had time to watch anything. I've been paying for the House of the Dragon for 6 months now since it came out,
Hot D.
and I'm halfway through. I'm still only 6 or 7 episodes through.
Well, it's 20. They go through 20 years. There's a lot to get through.
Yeah. Well, I've just been too busy, and I just I can't really be fucked watching things. Get bored of watching. Not bored of watching. I enjoy watching things, but it's hard for me to schedule the time to watch something.
I'm with you. I've managed to get through the first 5 of
Hot
the Cabinet of Curiosities.
Did you give Hot D a go?
No, but it's on my list along with Andor, which is the new Star Wars thing, which I've heard really good things about.
Not to be mistaken for they, them.
Yeah. Andor is... so I've seen the first episode of Andor. Now, much like you, when you gave up on Star Wars films at the mid...
Star Wars, the last time I'll pay.
Yeah, so...
The Last Jedi, that's when I gave up.
You gave up then.
Star Wars, the last time I'll pay.
After the fucking horror show that was Obi-Wan Kenobi, the absolutely nonsensical mess, I was like, fuck, maybe I'll give up on Star Wars because this is so fucking terrible. Now, I won't give up. Like, I still like The Mandalorian. It's still decent. But, like, Book of Boba Fett, we're going down a peg. Fucking Obi-Wan, we're just absolute the shits. And then Andor is meant to come along and is essentially sort of meant to be the true first ever Star Wars for adults. And it's meant to be basically it's in the Star Wars universe, but it's really about revolutions and how these things happen, because it's basically about how the rebels start or becoming part of the Rebel Alliance. And I was like, oh, that's actually a fucking fascinating concept. Also, I don't care. Like, I don't want to see Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader. If you're going to have Obi-Wan and Darth Vader throw rocks at each other and then pretend like nothing's happened in Star Wars: A New Hope.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, I'm sorry, don't give me that if you're just gonna give me nonsense with it. So Andor is meant to be like tippy top. That like basically what people are saying is like, forget that it's fucking Star Wars. This is just one of the best TV series on TV right now. And so I will come back with some updates with regards to Andor. But I'm excited by that concept because I am an adult, so I might like to watch something Star Wars set in an adult universe.
I've Googled adults only Star Wars, and
that's pretty good too.
That's pretty good too.
I mean, look, no I mean you're gonna win either way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've just sort of started watching that. Hot D is
I really
definitely
like those
on my
Wookiee
list.
scenes. I'm really into the Wookiee scenes in the adult Star Wars.
Hot D's on the list. But yeah, so and I did just want to talk about. Did you get to Rings of Power yet?
No, it's not happening. It's on the wrong platform. I haven't figured out how to torrent things.
Yep.
I know that it's the year 2022, and I know this has been happening for 22 years or so. Or more, but I still haven't figured out torrenting, and I'm not going to pay for another channel. So I've got Netflix. Shout out to one of our 5150 listeners. You know who you are. And
so when you say you've got all this stuff, it's like
no, but I'm paying for Neon. So I've got Netflix. I'm paying for Neon. And I've still got this huge backlog. I'm halfway through Ozark, the latest season. I missed out on the last 2 seasons of Westworld. I'm halfway through
Westworld.
I'm halfway through season 2 of Narcos Mexico.
Did you see that they
I've
cancelled
got too much.
Westworld?
I did see that, but
So-
it didn't affect me because I haven't
you're 2
seen.
seasons
I've only
behind.
seen 2
Well,
seasons.
just what's interesting is that they have to pay the cast in its entirety, even though they're not making
Right.
the season, which
Yeah.
is a very unprecedented thing to have. That doesn't normally happen. Now, some movie stars have a pay or play deal, which means that they get paid whether or not the film goes ahead. Top movie stars, and that's all good. But in this instance, the whole cast, for whatever contractual reason, is getting paid out the entirety of doing season 5 without doing season 5.
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, well, I guess it depends how much you cared about the Westworld, because to me, season 1 of Westworld was golden age TV.
Yeah.
Season 2 of Westworld was garbage TV.
I didn't hate it. I wanted to know what was going to happen in season 3.
And so,
But then Game of Thrones finished, and I stopped paying for Neon, and that was the problem. I'm not going to pay for Neon just for Westworld.
yeah, like Westworld is like one of those things where like you might be at the end of season 4 if you're one of those actors being like, damn, we got to do another one of these. This is kind of getting like Dexter season 6 right here. I don't know if I want that. And then they go, you know what? Don't worry about it.
We're just going to pay
We're
you.
just going to pay you a lump sum for the entirety of that thing that you're not going to do. So take the next year off. I don't know. I'd be kind of stoked on it.
Oh, look, I mean, it's win-win, really, isn't it? I mean, you're either in season 4 of Westworld, or you're getting paid out a lump sum and you're acting in something else.
Man, just feels like a great deal to me. Unless obviously you had all these plans, your character arc, and you knew what was going on. And you're like, can't wait to get into this stuff. But I guess you can cry yourself to sleep on that pillow of money.
Yeah, with all your money.
Yeah. So yeah. So
blowing your nose into $100 bill.
Yeah, I thought you'd be on that Del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities because you were such a fan of that horrible TV series that he did for so long that got so bad. The Strain.
The Strain, yeah. No, but look, here's the thing. I was not a fan of the TV series. I struggled with the TV series.
You strained through it.
I strained all the way through it. No, I read the books. So I read his books before he made the... Okay, so Guillermo del Toro has a book called The Strain, and then he turned it into a TV series, and it was really bad. It was pretty bad.
It was
pretty
not
bad.
good. It was not good.
But I kept struggling on through it because I had read the books and because I really did want to see it kind of come to life.
Yeah.
And so yeah, no, it was so bad that I didn't end up finishing it.
Yeah.
I meant to finish it. I just couldn't quite get there.
Couldn't do it.
I think I only have like 2 episodes left or something before I'm finished. But
you're like,
let's
nope,
be real, I'm not
out.
going back. Nah, it was just it was the same as anything. It's not that I wouldn't finish it. It's that I'm not going to prioritize it. So that's why I've got to finish Ozark and Narcos Mexico season 2 and stuff before I forget about them. Otherwise, I'm never going to know what happens but I already can't remember. I can't remember what the last cliffhanger was. I bought a new camera. It's not the type of camera that you buy with the interchangeable lenses and the cinematographic sort of applications, cinematography applications. It's a more of a point and shoot video ENG they call it, electronic news gathering.
It's like the most modernized version of a DVX 102.
Yeah,
isn't it? Like it's like the 20-year. Because it's been 20 years.
It's been 20 years since we bought that DVX 102.
Fuck my life.
Yeah.
This is the whole problem with getting to 40 thing is you're like, damn, I've been doing shit for 20 years.
Yeah.
The fuck? This is wrong. This is just wrong.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's the DVX, but like the most advanced tech.
Yeah.
But like that style of camera.
Yeah. So it's a point and shoot corporate camera work type camera. It's the Panasonic HCX2 it's called, and I bought that, and I bought it so that my freelancing would basically make me more money. The idea was like, well, if I'm charging for gear as well, then I can make a bit more money, because I was borrowing a lot of your gear to shoot jobs. I'd be like, hey, have you got access to a camera? And I'd be like, sure do. And I'd be like, hey, Piggy, can I borrow one of your four or five cameras, please? Yeah. And so I'd take one of your cameras. And so why would I change that, right? Because I don't have to put the money down for the camera. I can keep using your cameras. Why would I do that? Why would I spend my money on getting a new camera? And the reason why is just because these cameras are not quite ideal for the types of jobs that I'm doing, where it's like, look, what I need is a camera with a fucking zoom button, where I can zoom in and out, and I can adjust
everything.
All auto everything. I can adjust the gain, just nice and simple. Everything's real simple. Just point it in the right direction. It's got HDMI out, SDI out. It's got all the various inputs and outputs that I need for these kind of corporate jobs. Well, I've been running the numbers, and it's already paying for itself. Okay, the tripod alone has already made back 20% of its purchase price. In 2 jobs, 20% of its purchase price, okay? The camera, on the other hand, has only made 5% of its purchase price so far. But still, we're off to a good start.
It's early days.
2 jobs, 5% of the purchase price for the camera covered, and 20% of the purchase price for the tripod covered. So, #winning.
Well, just to get a little bit nerdy on it, Tyler Adams said he switched things up and he went for a Sony A7 IV, which is actually one of the cameras that I now own.
That's the one that I use.
Which is the one that I lent to you, which is a fucking awesome camera. Does a huge amount. I actually think, in fact, I'm thinking of a YouTube video about it, but I think that they kind of fucked up, and they essentially made a cheaper camera that was better than their kind of cinema line cameras. They added more features. They added some slightly things that made it slightly better in many ways. But then they're kind of like, but look, don't tell anyone. Because if we tell anyone, that's going to create a problem for our cinema line.
Well,
which is considerably more expensive.
Sounds like a good YouTube video, right? Because basically you can be the one that cracks open this story.
Sony's dirty secret.
Yeah.
So I'm a Sony.
And how you can benefit from it.
I'm a Sony fanboy now.
Yeah.
Sony fuckboy.
Yeah.
As some might say. So shout out to Tyler. I think you've made a very good choice there, my friend. I just shot on that yesterday. Was yesterday Friday? Yeah, I did. I just filmed on it on Friday. Fucking good camera. Yeah.
So
you'll be borrowing that again when you need a second camera.
Well, totally plausible. Absolutely plausible. On the weekend, I did also meet with famed director Oren Peli. Oren Peli of the...
Is he producer or director?
Director. So he
directed Paranormal Activity.
He was the creative force behind Paranormal Activity.
Did he direct it?
The 2007 smash hit.
I always thought he was the producer of it.
No, he bought it. He shot it in his own house. I heard for about 15 grand, he shot Paranormal Activity in his own house with these 2 actors, and I asked him about it. So we had a meeting, right? Turns out he lives in New Zealand. We had a meeting. I hadn't actually seen Paranormal Activity.
Rich tech billionaires I guess filmmaker billionaires.
Was it Keyhole? No, Keyhole. what do we call them? Keyhole bunkers.
Keyhole bunker.
Keyhole bunkers. He's got his New Zealand keyhole bunker.
Yeah.
So he came to New Zealand and he deigned to have a meeting with me. He was really nice. He didn't deign at all. He was very nice, very humble. And so he is the writer director of Paranormal Activity. He shot it in his own house. He shot it for about $15,000. I said, "How did you find your actors?" He said that he just posted it in the paper in I think it's San Diego. I think he shot it in San Diego. I think. Something like that, and he said he just posted in the paper and other places saying like, "Hey, I've got this audition." He hired a theatre space. He'd never made a feature before, and he had hired a theatre space to do his auditions. And he said, "We're gonna
didn't do it as flat like us."
No, not like us. No,
in the kitchen of our flat with the dirty dishes
and
strewn around
the giant black spiders. The giant black spiders on the windows. Don't forget those.
That's right. That giant fucking spider that we just let live there.
Not one. There was like 5 of them.
But there was a real big one.
Yeah, but that was the biggest.
That was the biggest, and that was like the one that we must come into the kitchen and pay our respects to.
Yeah.
So before we make our food
sandwich, yeah.
But didn't it just die one day?
No,
wasn't that the thing?
No, what happened was there was like 5 of them in all the corners of all these different windows, and they were big, fat, black ones.
They had babies.
And I Googled them to find out, what kind of spider it was. It was an Australian import, but it wasn't poisonous.
Yeah.
Okay, so an Australian import, not poisonous, big fat ones, and I just left them because I wasn't prepared to get rid of them. My girlfriend at the time, she wanted to get rid of them, and I said, "Well, do it," but she wasn't brave enough, and because I didn't do it, it never got done. But then one day, our landlord came over, and she was like, "Oh, I've just got to," I can't remember what she had to do. She had to do some sort of something around the windows. And she went there and saw these massive spiders. And she goes, "Oh, hang on, I'll just be back in a second." And then she left, and then she came back with a big can of bug spray and nuked them all.
Dang.
This horrific chemical warfare against these innocent beings that were just living there for a long time. And she was like, psh, and just killed them all right in front of me. And I was like, those were kind of my pets, actually. Because sometimes I fed them. Sometimes I fed them flies.
I remember that.
I'd catch them flies.
That's my pets.
I've had those for 3 years. How do you think they got so big?
I forgot all about those giant spiders.
Yeah, so anyway, But
they kept to themselves. That was the thing. They never strayed from their habitat.
You know what was good about them was you could always see them because they were so big. And they just stayed in their web and they just caught flies for us.
Stayed in their own web.
Yeah.
Stay in your own lane.
That's
okay?
the life motto.
Because that's the thing. It's like, there's a couple spiders in here. I'll happily let them just chill, right? I'm not going to suck them up with a vacuum. I'm not going to get out the bug
I'm not
spray,
that kind of person.
right? Live and let live.
Yeah.
Okay? Not cockroaches. Kill them with extreme prejudice.
Yeah, exterminate them immediately.
But
cockroaches.
These cockroaches. But the spiders are cool, man. As long as you don't start moving.
Hotel Uganda. It's an obscure reference to Hotel Uganda.
Don't start moving homes, right? If you're moving about the place that I can't see you when I walk in, it's like one of the analyzing the threat, and you walk in, you can't see the threat. Okay, now I've got to go hunt and I've got to go. But they always knew what to do. They just stayed there, ate the flies. It was all good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So
you met with this legendary director.
Yeah.
Well, now, I'm just trying to think, right? Just like, would he be the most famous director that we've ever been in the vicinity of and talked to?
Well,
I'm trying to think of our film festival experiences of whether there was anyone that was bigger.
Well, not that I can really think of off the top of my head. At the various film festivals, there was definitely directors there of lots of different horror films and stuff like that.
But that we never really talked to.
But we didn't necessarily talk to them, and they also weren't necessarily big sort of mainstream successes, like Paranormal Activity.
Just reading Tyler's.
Yeah.
Tyler says, it sounds like you had a pretty special and intimate relationship with these spiders, and that losing them was almost comparable to losing a loved one.
Yeah. Well, I actually applied for the special leave at work.
Bereavement leave. After those spiders got sprayed.
After they got mercilessly murdered by my landlord in front of my eyes. And I didn't want to say it. I couldn't. Well, I mean, I should have said something. That's the guilt.
It was too late.
I live with this guilt, though. You know, I should have. She just did
Survivor's guilt.
Yeah, I've got survivor's guilt. I should have said something, you know, but she just did it.
Survivor's
you know,
guilt.
and maybe I could have saved the last 2 or 3, but I
Yeah.
just didn't stop her.
It was really
And
the main one because I feel like
that's my survivor's guilt.
the main one.
I have to live with this.
The biggest one, because they did have babies. I feel like there was a baby incident there.
I think there was a baby incident, and they had like several hundred cute little babies.
Yeah, they're just running around, and then you'd be shocked at how many of those clearly die, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't
guess
think
so.
I knew that.
Because there was only like 5 of them in the room, but there was
like
100 babies.
Yeah, it was like a science experiment.
Yeah.
We saw, you know, life, death, rebirth, well, until the, and murder.
Yeah.
Murder most foul.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the story. You saw Oren.
Okay, so I met with Oren. Lovely guy, really nice. Really hung out with him for like nearly 2.5 hours. Had breakfast. He paid for the breakfast. Shout out Oren. Thank you.
As he should.
Well, I mean, look, we asked him for a meeting.
Got some of that paranormal money. Come on.
But to be fair, like whenever I have meetings with people, there's a rule. There's an unspoken rule.
You don't fucking pay.
No, the rule is if I ask you for the meeting, I've got to buy you the coffee or the beer.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. If you ask me for a meeting, you've got to buy the coffee or the beer. I had 2 meetings. I had a meeting with the writer-director of Dubai, Pongbo. I had a meeting, my very first meeting with Pongbo. He did not buy the beers.
And you were offended.
I was highly offended.
You're like, you've offended me, sir.
Yeah. I was like,
you, sir, have offended me, and I'm not sure we can continue this relationship.
I don't know if we can work
together. This is teetering on the edge right now.
I don't know if we can work together. And then Matt Hicks. You know Matt Hicks, right? Buzzcut.
Honest Matt Hicks, yep.
Yeah, so Matt Hicks, we had a meeting just a few weeks ago. I showed up. He's already got a beer. I show up. Now, that's fine. You can have a beer, mate. But, you know, when I arrive, obviously you're going to be like, oh, do you want to I'll grab you a beer, mate?
Can I grab you a beer?
Thanks for your time. Can I grab you a beer? No beer. No, to be fair, he did message me beforehand. He goes, hey, man, I'm here. Do you want a beer?
Okay.
But I didn't see that. And then I arrived and I was like, well, where's the beers? And then I was like, oh, I guess I'll just grab myself a beer then, will I? And so I went and grabbed myself a beer. And then my guest... Will I? And then I had a guest. There's a film festival called Locarno Film Festival in Switzerland, and it's going for like 100 years. It's like a really old, prestigious one. And I brought one of the main programmers with me to this meeting with him. Okay?
Yep.
She bought him a beer. She bought him and me a beer. And I bought myself a beer.
This is madness.
And he didn't buy anybody any beers. Matt, we've got to sort this out next time.
Matt, we're going to give you a big thumbs down. I've also got to give Matt a double thumbs down.
Oh, shit.
Because he was like, hey, can we meet up for a coffee?
Yeah.
And I didn't reply to him straight away.
Yeah.
And my reply may have seemed a little...
curt.
Yeah, because I was like, super bad timing, actually. And this was like a day later or maybe a day and a half. Like, it wasn't right then because I was in the middle of working.
Yeah.
And then I was like, actually, super bad timing, mate. What time were you thinking? Question mark. Motherfucker left me on scene. Oh. Don't instigate a coffee.
Yeah.
And don't follow through with the nah, all good, mate.
Left you all sane.
You know, like that's like set up a coffee. By all means, take my curt response and be like, dickhead. But don't, under any circumstances, not respond because the olive branch was there. I was still like, what time were you thinking?
Yeah.
Not like, nah, fuck off.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a super bad timing actually, but what time were you thinking?
Yeah.
I'm going to help a brother out if I can.
Yeah.
Left me on scene.
Or maybe he was just meeting with me.
Well,
at
he
that time.
was. He was like, doesn't matter. I picked the Pigville brains now.
Yeah.
But that makes it even worse because he was clearly used and abused. That's what I'm saying.
Well, the night before meeting with Oren, I had to hire Paranormal Activity.
And watch it.
And
fall asleep.
I've never seen it before.
And fall asleep after watching 15 minutes of it.
No. It was really good. It was very compelling. It was genuinely like scary and the tension was just right. And it never reached a point because it's a very simple film where it's like kind of one camera following around only 2 actors in one location. So it never reached a point where it felt very forced. It felt like the timing was very good where basically like it ratchets up the suspense, but only sort of slow enough that by the end of it, you know, you never reach a point where you're like, yeah, okay, all right, I got this shtick, you know? So, yeah, really good. So I watched it the night before. She Who Shall Be Named, she was terrified while she was watching it. And then I went and met with him, and he said that the way that he did that film was he had seen Blair Witch, and was really inspired by it. He was really inspired by Blair Witch. And then Blair Witch was a huge success. So all of these other people started making these movies, but they all did the same thing, which was they had these kind of contrived found footage things where it was like the camera was, just too conveniently there, or the dialogue was just too on the nose, or, the sound was just a little bit too good, or all that type of thing. So he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep it real strict. I'm going to actually just shoot it on this camera. I'm going to use the onboard microphone on this camera. That's the audio of this movie. It really is shot by the actors. It really is. They really are holding it, or doing it, and putting it around, and moving it around, and all that type of thing. And he was like, I'm just going to be really strict about it. And that's what he did, and that really worked with Paranormal Activity. And then with the sequels, which he didn't direct all of those, he just put his name on some of them. He was like a producer on.
So he didn't do the second one? No.
I'm not actually certain, so I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly. So hang on, actually, I can tell you just here. Paranormal Activity, director, producer, writer of the first one, yes. Also cinematographer and editor. So he did do some of the camera work. Paranormal Activity 2. Just producer. So the rest of them, just producer. And then he did one called Area 51. Which he told me about. We talked about it over breakfast. Yep. And he was the director of that, and it was because it was a fun project with somebody that he knew, and so he wanted to do it. And then that's it. That's the only other one that he actually directed of all of those. But he is also associated with like Insidious. He's one of the producers or something of Insidious as well. I'm not certain exactly what his role is there, but that's another one of his franchises. But yes, really nice guy, and really took a lot of time to hang out with us, which was great. And arguably one of the biggest, most successful people I've ever met
in real life,
or at least spent a decent amount of time with.
Yeah,
I mean, I did meet Dolph Lundgren one time.
Yeah,
let's not forget Dolph Lundgren of Rocky fame.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
Yeah. So yeah, bloody good on him. And I told him about our upcoming Catalyst applications. I talked to him about the Long Track, which is the found footage horror that we're hoping to do if we get that funding from the Film Commission. And he's already seen I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. He had already seen it in the past because of a previous interview that I had done on the Top of the South podcast or something like that. So he went away and he watched it, right? And then I sent him just the other day older. And he then watched it and got back to me and said it was awesome and that he really enjoyed it, that it was really heartfelt and cute, and that he really liked it, and that it would have cost, it was better than a Hollywood rom-com, and that rom-com would have cost $20 million in Hollywood.
You hear that, Hollywood?
You hear that, Hollywood?
Fucking suck it.
So there you go.
That's good shit. That's a really nice compliment.
Yeah, no, he really liked it. So you never know, mate. You never know. The big problem is that he is retired.
Yeah, semi-retired.
He's not. It's not that he's old. He's retired because he's like
young.
He was like, I'm done with all this bullshit. And he was like, basically, he said to me, he was like, because I asked him if I could put his name on our application and my other application as a
creative consultant.
I said, look,
executive
dream
producer?
Scenario, executive producer.
Yeah.
But failing that, mentor, advisor, I just need your name, brother. I just need your name. Like whatever you got, whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah. And he was like, look, that's cool and stuff, and you seem like a nice guy, but I'm retired.
Don't put his name on this shit for no one.
Exactly. I'm just putting my name on my own content, on my own franchises. So good luck and all the best. But he did say that if he said he's retired because he wants to spend time with his family and stuff like that, but that if a Hollywood or his agent came along and said like, look, here's $20 million and you are confirmed, you're the director, you get all the creative say, and here's your $20 million budget, that he'd be tempted then to like come out of retirement, but that basically he doesn't need it, he doesn't want it, he's okay. So yeah, I mean, as cool as he thinks older is, he's not necessarily going to be like directing older too.
We'll coax him round.
Oldest.
We'll coax him round to producer on the Long Track.
Yeah. Well,
this is the initiation.
Yeah.
This is when he is skeptical, but appreciative of some of the work we've done.
Yeah.
But gives us the hard word. But this is only the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Oren, we just thought we'd shoot through the rough cut for you, mate.
See what do you think? Maybe there's somebody at Blumhouse you could pass it along to.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, there was a very funny moment, speaking of Blumhouse.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So we've talked about the dude that did Housebound before. Housebound being...
Your mate.
Yeah, but
What's his name?
I can't remember his name. Now I've
Like
got
a Reese or Bryce.
Can't you look it up quickly, Harley? Just type in Housebound. We've just got to get his name right at least.
Housebound director. Gerard Johnston.
Gerard Johnston.
I was pretty close. What did I say?
I don't know. We were originally friends on Facebook. He defriended me or he quit Facebook. I don't know which is more likely, but they're both very likely. So anyway, Gerard Johnston, right, is a director who released a film around the same time as I Survived the Zombie Holocaust.
With the same funding.
With the same funding, but with ultimately a lot more funding. Housebound came out. It was very critically acclaimed. Did very well, sort of, in many places. It kind of was running along with the zombie film, but doing way better at everything than the zombie film at the time. And I met him a couple of times, and he seemed like a pretty chill dude. But I heard many stories about him as a director being very difficult and doing many things that might ostracize oneself from the industry in various ways.
Sounds sort of familiar.
No, I don't, you tell me. I don't have that many stories about me, mate. There's not many.
They're not telling you the stories.
Oh, I'd love to hear them. But like stories about him being difficult on set, stories about him being a total dick to work with, stories about him kind of hijacking a TV series and doing whatever the fuck he wanted, which was not what they asked for or had been promised, and all this stuff. And I heard stories about him bragging that Uncle PJ was going to set him up with a new film. And all sorts of stuff like this,
That's
right?
Peter Jackson for people who are not from New Zealand.
Yeah, he was like,
we call him Uncle PJ around
he
here.
calls him Uncle PJ in this story that was relayed to me of him being a bit of an asshole, right? And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And there's many stories about Housebound actually costing more like $1 million and him kind of completely reshooting everything, and stories about him like doing the, knocking at the door 50 times because he didn't like the sound of the door knocking, and all sorts of very pedantic directory stuff, I suppose. And then I did not hear a peep out of him, for basically the last decade, apart from releasing this TV series, which again, there was a huge amount of controversy over, and how that did not go the way that TVNZ were happy with at all, and that essentially they dumped it because they were extremely displeased with all of this stuff, right?
Yes, we do read chat last.
Welcome
along to the show.
The first shall be last, and last shall be first. Last.
You've caught the last 15 minutes of the first show back.
And so I was kind of like, oh, I guess this is an example of someone who is definitely very talented, but is too difficult. He's kind of burned his bridges. Mm-hmm. And he's just a bit too difficult for the New Zealand scene. That's why he hasn't made another feature film here in New Zealand when like kind of all his contemporaries or some of his other contemporaries have. And maybe that's the last we'll ever hear of him. Well, I was fucking wrong. Mm-hmm. And speaking of Blumhouse, this goes back to a new trailer for a horror film, which has set the internet world alight with anticipation.
Yeah.
Do you know what the name of it is called? If you look at him, if you just Google his name, it's basically about like an AI robot doll. It's kind of like a reimagining of Chucky, except that it's an AI robot doll. And lo and behold, produced by Blumhouse, and lo and behold, directed by one Gerard Johnston. So that's where he's at. Can you find the name of it?
Well, Megan?
Yeah, that's the one.
Megan, yeah.
Megan. And so that's coming out, I think, early next year. And it just like blew up on social media, this trailer, because everyone was like, whoa, this is a crazy kind of fucked up cool concept. It looks really good. So that's what Gerard Johnson's doing. And I was like, you guys, and I actually asked my students, I was like, have you guys seen this new trailer? And a lot of them were like, yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. Well, we directed a film at the same time.
Yeah.
And he's now directing that film, and I'm here teaching you.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Any questions? Anybody got any questions about that? Let's move on, shall we? Yeah.
Moving on. But I just thought that was interesting. It's always nice to see those parallel careers of other directors as time goes by, see where they're at, see where you're at, you know.
Yeah.
Swap notes, shall we say?
Yeah. Well, good for him.
Oh, good for you.
Mate, the only time I look in my neighbor's bowl is to make sure he's got enough.
That's a load of shit.
Oh, absolutely. Fuck him. No, I'm kidding.
But it's a good saying. It's a good saying.
Yeah.
It's a good saying.
No. I mean, fuck my neighbor, not fuck Gerard.
Yeah.
Gerard, I would love to be involved with any of your productions.
If you're listening,
to the
podcast,
I would love to. I'm open to auditioning. I will deign to audition.
The idea of you being difficult to work with has been greatly exaggerated.
Well, I didn't say that.
No. And obviously I haven't worked with them directly. But I'm just going to tell you what, like, not just one person, but like many people that have worked with them have said. But again, I've no first-hand experience with that. And as they say, you can't believe everything you hear.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. All right. Well, we're heading towards the end of the show. I do have one last...
it's closing time.
One last call for alcohol. Yeah, good song. So I do have one last announcement, which is that in 2021, I was very fortunate because I got to go to the Tokyo Olympics when everybody else was in lockdown. I got to go to the Tokyo Olympics and put graphics on the sailing. International travel.
You got to visit a truck on the other side of the world for 2 weeks.
No, I got time to myself. I got 10 days where I had to be semi-isolated, but then I also got time to myself in Tokyo. And also, it wasn't really about the holiday because you can pay for a holiday anytime. What's good about working on something like the Olympics is that you can say you worked on it, you put it on your CV, you get paid to go over there and visit that place and see that part of the world. And at the end of it all expenses paid. You got a big wad of cash in your hand. And so I worked on that in 2021. And I knew that the next Olympics is in France in 2024. Now the footage the broadcast that we did in 2021 in Tokyo won an award. It won the gold medal for the Olympic broadcasting coverage. So that's something that they do every Olympics. They do like a broadcasting awards.
Your graphics won a gold medal.
Well, they were one part of that machine which won the gold medal. They were a part of it. Good. And so there was 52, I think, people working on that team on the Tokyo Olympics. And I was...
Put it on the CV, gold medal award-winning graphics artist.
It's already on there, mate. It's already on there. And so the Tokyo Olympics, good times, right? And so I really wanted to get onto the French Olympics in 2024 because, once you're in, once you're trying to get in with an employer like that, hopefully you can, continue to work on the Olympics every 3 years or 4 years, whatever it is. And I think it's meant to be every 4 years, for forever, it's a good gig. And so what I did in between was I went and worked on the Commonwealth Games, which is, the smaller version of the Olympics. And I was just based in New Zealand, but I worked on the Commonwealth Games, and the idea was to get the Commonwealth Games on my CV in between the two Olympics so that I could then go back to my employer and be like, yo, so the Olympics went great, we won gold. Since then, I've been working on the Commonwealth Games. Here's my updated CV. Let's go to France. Bonjour. And so I emailed him the other day, my employer, and he has told me that he has received the contract. He will be going to the Olympics and that I am now on the crew list officially for the graphics. But I haven't received a contract, so I shouldn't really celebrate too soon. But it is looking like I'm going to go to France in 2024 for the Olympics. So I love that. I love that when the plan comes together.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hopefully you'll still be alive then.
Well, why would I be dead?
There's always a chance.
It's a very morbid thing to say. It's a very
never pays to look too far into the future for anyone. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And in fact, that segues just nicely into my last thing, which is, there we go. Richard Lambert says if there's a Europe in 2024.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Shout out to Richard.
I'm just saying, you want to talk about destabilized? The world is a bit destabilized at the moment.
Yeah.
Speaking of people dying, hopefully not you, before 2024, Kevin Conroy.
Is this who's dead this week?
Yep.
Good.
You know who that is?
Never heard of him. Never heard of him. I've got a very sad episode of Who's Dead this week as well.
So Kevin Conroy was the voice of Batman.
He was 60-something years old, and he was the voice of Batman in the animations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the quintessential. So every movie Batman has tried to do something with the Batman voice and to some degree failed. Now, the true Batman voice, the true Batman, the real Batman, the Batman that sounds like Batman when you just sit there and go, just picture what Batman would sound like, is Kevin Conroy in the animated Batman TV series and movies and Arkham games. And damn, he was just fucking amazing. And it sucks because obviously he can no longer perform that Batman. And, he just made man, you can picture that voice now I'm talking about it, right?
Not the animated one. I can't really remember.
It's good shit, but you can remember the games.
I can't remember the voice specifically.
He was the best animated Batman for sure.
I'm sure he did a great job.
It was amazing. So rest in peace, Kevin. Your Batman will be missed. And is certainly just as good, if not better, than many of the other Batmen who were represented in films.
We say Bat people nowadays.
I'm looking at you, especially George Clooney and Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So I have a couple of people to add to the very sad episode of Who's Dead this week. I am, of course, talking about Coolio.
Oh, fuck, I forgot about Coolio.
So Coolio has died between this episode and the previous episode.
Yeah.
And as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's not much left. Because I've been blasting and just laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. So, rest in peace, Coolio.
Yeah, man, that's big. Coolio.
He was 59. He was the same age as my mum. He was born the same year as my mum.
Coolio is
if anybody wanted to know my PIN code.
Coolio was just he was one of those 90s touchstones. That song, and I think he had one before that as well, were kind of just iconic freaking Coolio. Like Tupac or something around that time. There was also Coolio. Now, he was, a flash in the pan, but I guess you'd put him in that sort of MC Hammer style.
Well, he was a long-lasting flash in the pan.
Because everyone listens to that song.
He retained his legitimacy somehow, Some one-hit wonders become kind of a bit cheesy after a while, but Gangsta's Paradise, that's a legit gangster classic for us gangsters.
Absolutely.
So... Richard says, your mum's only 59? Yes, Richard, stay away from my mum. He's
Stand down, Richard.
Richard's 49 to 50-ish, somewhere around there.
Right-wing Richard is a notorious womanizer and Jordan Peterson supporter.
Yeah.
And has moved from the centre. What was it?
But yes, Richard, you're old enough to be my dad.
He's not old right. He's centre right.
Yeah, he's centre right.
He's centre right.
He's centre right.
Yeah.
Okay, and one last Who's Dead this week? A legitimate sad one. An actual sad one. I know we like to take the piss on this show.
I wasn't taking the piss with Kevin Conroy.
No, but I do.
Yeah.
Every single celebrity death, I'm very
dismissive, disrespectful, pissing on the grave
It's almost as if they don't have real people who are really hurt by their death and are really affected by it. That's how I behave. Just a petulant, mean-spirited,
very
horrible person, just taking, glee from the death of celebrities.
Yeah.
relishing
a sick, twisted relishing of their demise. Somehow empowers and emboldens and builds you up.
Yeah, right. I'm building myself up by tearing others down. Which is not a good way to do it.
Well, with the bowl analogy that you just said before,
the bowl,
it runs contrary to that bowl idea.
Bowl. Oh, the bun, the bowl, your neighbor's bowl.
Looking in your neighbor's bowl, you're shitting all over it.
I'm taking a dump in his bowl. Taking a dump in my neighbor's bowl. No, but there is a very sad episode of Who's Dead this week. I am, of course, talking about Louise Higgins. Now, Louise Higgins recently passed away. She played Auntie Louise in Older. So she was in our funeral scene, and she was only in her early 60s, as I understand it, and she passed away very recently. And she was one of the few extras from the funeral scene that managed to get an actual credit as a named character, because she's there supporting the mother character, your mother, the character of your mother. She's there consoling her, and they're sort of talking away, and she just messaged me at the right time and said, like, yo, can I get a credit for that? And I was like, well, we don't typically just credit every extra. She's like, but I was talking, and I was like, well, but there was no mic. But so in the end, she got put on IMDb as Auntie Louise. And I think she's in the credits as well as Auntie Louise.
She is.
Very sad to see the passing of Louise Higgins.
How did you hear about that?
A shout out to Louise. I saw something on Facebook, and then I got a message from Jay Simon, actor Jay Simon, who his finger on the pulse with that type of thing, I guess. And so I heard about it, and then I double checked the Facebook page to make sure it was indeed true. So shout out to Louise, listening to Beyond from the Beyond, and very sad episode of Who's Dead this week.
Thank you for being part of the film and contributing to making that film something special. And also, Richard would like to clarify that although he is a serial womanizer and alt to centre right, he does not support Jordan Peterson.
He'd like to make it very clear.
He made that explicitly clear. The other things are true, but that, nah. That's a bridge too far.
I'm not sure if fantasizing about womanizing is the same thing as being a serial womanizer.
I think he does all right, mate.
Well, he is a good-looking man.
He's a very good-looking man.
He's a good-looking man. Charming and funny.
Charming, he's funny. It's only...
I saw him just last weekend. I hung out with him just last weekend.
It's only... It's only when you spend a large amount of time, as a woman might, after he's womanized them, that you discover the neuroses underneath.
I see.
And then that's where the problem. That's where the chinks in the armor start.
Right. I see.
Shout out to Richard Lambert from the live stream.
Shout out to Richard.
His phobia of birds. I'm airing out all this dirty laundry.
You're airing the poor man's laundry.
I tell you what, I will say that if you get a bird, if you have a bird, birds are freaky in enclosed spaces.
Yeah.
I'm
flapping.
I'm not sure that I can say that I'm as scared as just a bird, sitting on the fence or whatever. But if a pigeon was in here flying about, I'd be like,
I'd kick its fucking ass. I'd right hook
it. Tyler says that he's one sexy Alfred. Richard played Alfred in the latest Batman parody that I did for YouTube. Because you couldn't do it, you were busy.
I was busy, but to be honest, I feel like Richard's Alfred accent was better than the Alfred accent I probably would have presented.
That's true, but you look more like Alfred.
More like Alfred.
He looks more like Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
It's like, why is Bruce Wayne...
why is this handsome version of Alfred?
Yeah, why is there a handsome version of Alfred talking to an ugly version of Bruce Wayne in this? What the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
We're in backwards world? But yeah, good stuff.
The other day, I was working in a TV control room, right, with a bunch of sort of younger people, and they were talking about the auto cue, right? The auto cue, you know, what's the other word for auto cue?
Teleprompter?
Teleprompter. Yeah, the auto cue, the teleprompter. And I was talking about how I might take a bit of work doing some auto cue stuff. And they're like, oh, don't do that. Like, you get yelled at, you know, if you ever make any type of mistake, because it's really easy to make a mistake. And then the presenter reads the auto cue and says the wrong thing on air. And then I piped in and jumped in with, I'm Ron Burgundy. Which I thought would be a classic. I thought it would, bring the room down. The whole studio would be laughing. They all looked at me like they were like, why did he say that weird thing? Why did he randomly say, I'm Ron Burgundy?
Like you just said like a nonsense sentence.
A nonsense sentence that just didn't make any sense. Yeah. They were like, I'm Ron Burgundy. What? And I was like, I'm a Anchorman, and they're like, oh, we haven't seen that.
I'm sorry. That's a very old film.
That's an old movie. And these are people who work in TV and they haven't seen a show about TV broadcasting, Anchorman, and to the point where I'm Ron Burgundy fell completely flat and nobody understood it. They didn't even get the joke. That's how I know I'm getting fucking old.
I just thought you're a loser.
They were just like, well, it's a weird, losery old eccentric thing for that eccentric old weird man to say.
Look, we've been there, right? When the eccentric old weird man said something that he thought was funny, and we were like, yeah. Now that's you.
That's me.
That's cool. That's
so
always good.
Richard says on the live stream, Harley also hilariously told a group of fellow actors that I was only cast in Harrow due to the unavailability and of a much better and well-known actor. Now, I'm not sure if Richard is referring to anybody specific.
Well,
I did tell him at the party last weekend that Johnny Barker was the original person we had in mind.
Gave a shout out to Johnny Barker earlier on the podcast. Probably missed that.
Yeah, Richard would have missed that. Yeah,
but we modelled the character.
It was originally written for Johnny Barker, but I asked Johnny to play that role, and he was going away overseas at the time. And then we cast Richard, and thank goodness we did, because now we've established that relationship.
Lifelong friendship.
Yeah, I told him in front of Johnny Barker.
Good times.
Good times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he earned it. He earned it.
He did. All right. Well, look, on that note of Richard Lambeth earning it.
On that note, it's been 3 hours. Is it? Well, it's 11 p.m.
No, we started at 8:30 or 8:45.
No, we started at 8:45.
Yeah.
So mid-2.
Yeah, so that's good. But it is good to be back. We are very happy to be back on the podcasting wagon, the live streaming. Hopefully we can make it a bit more consistent. We've both been very busy.
Can't make any promises.
I've been very busy with a lot of crazy stuff, but now that we're heading into Christmas, my work is all kind of quietening down, and basically my main work left now is working in broadcasting, which is not going to take up too much of my time, really. And so I'm going to be a lot more available for these podcasts over the next little while. So hopefully we can do a few more of these puppies.
Well, yeah. To me, I measure my busyness in relation to making a film. So at your most busy as a director, to me, it's a minimum of 14 hours per day, sometimes 16, right? As a director. And the last couple of weeks for me, around the time that we're making those funding applications, I was like, damn, I'm doing fucking director hours here. My goal in life is to never do director hours unless I'm directing something, because you actually don't really want to do those hours like just consistently. It's not very healthy for one thing, but it's also like, hey, if you're not doing fucking directing, which is the dream, then why the fuck are you working that hard? Work less hard. God damn it. So yeah, so that's where I've been, and I still have to finish this second assignment, as long as I pass the first assignment. Obviously, if I don't pass, then I'll be giving up, and then I'll have a bit more time on
for podcasting. Yeah,
I'll give up, time back on the podcast wagon.
The Sifty 150 and I are all hoping that you fail that first assignment so we can do some more podcasts. Right, Tyler?
Well, thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Make sure you hit like and subscribe and all that stuff. It's down below. It really helps us. Seriously. Don't press start recording.
Press stop streaming, not start recording and streaming.
Kakite.